A mover and seconder
I have
to
a comment
approve?
on the previous minutes.
Okay, I'll get a mover and seconder first. So that's Sean and Julia. And go ahead, Carol.
I'm trying to find them. It was in reference to the CEO's report. And we had discussion around whether we were gonna make changes or not. And in the minutes, it said we were gonna make changes, but we decided we were not gonna make changes on that one, and we were gonna make changes to the 2025 one. So if you read the minutes, it says there was discussion about changes, and then it said the report was approved as is, which kind of, if you weren't part of the discussion, it kind of contradicts itself.
Wasn't that? There was a year in review.
That's it, it was that one.
Yeah, because the CEO.
It was the year in
report-
review.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I had the wrong report. It was the year in review report.
Okay.
Because we had a discussion about changes, and then the decision was not to change that, but approve that. And then we would look at 2025 or 2024 report.
Yes, yeah, and so the minutes. And you're concerned about the minutes?
Yeah, just because it says that we talked about changes and then we approved it as is, but we never said that. Yeah, see, so this report was reviewed and a number of edits were requested. And then we say the report was approved. So the edits, the number, they weren't requested for the 2023 report. They were requested for what we would do in the 2024. And the decision was the 2023 report would go as is.
Mhm. And yet some changes were made to the 2023 report based on the discussion about highlighting certain data.
The 2023,
Is that not what I said?
you said
So the
that.
2020, I'm getting all mixed up.
Oh, okay, no, whatever, the one last year.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we did make some changes before it was published. They were minor changes, so this was more about a change of format.
Yeah, because a number of edits were requested, so it sounds like there was like,
It was highlighting data and things.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's a little typo at the end of that same paragraph.
we can say a number of minor edits were requested.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I would be good with that.
Okay.
were requested or were,
Excuse me.
Well, they were requested and they happened after that, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about the highlighting, you're right.
Minor edits, and then Marie, what was the?
Just the work should be work.
The amount of
Oh.
work required. Yeah. I missed it.
Thank you.
I
Okay.
hate to be picky about that stuff, but if it's going out, you do want to
Yeah.
know those things. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I guess the motion is the minutes of April 18th as amended. Okay, it's good, and actually, you already had those. You guys okay with those changes? Good, all in favor? Carries, thank you. Okay, we have no deputations, we have no public input, and we have no correspondence. So we're into our action planning. Oops. So the first one is continuing work on the 2024 action plan. I think we left off at the beginning of empowering services. So I guess we just go through these one at a time.
wait, that's all, because. I did have a couple of comments earlier on, just seeing it all cleaned up.
Okay.
CH 1.2. Impact of participation. Can we say something like, is it a qualitative or, again, that's not a measurable. So I think we meant that you would be just giving us a verbal report, right? Is there a way to say, verbal update,
We're looking here, sorry.
yeah, impact of participation, it just,
reflection of or evaluation of the impact of
yeah,
participation.
but we're not really doing an evaluation. It's more Jen's gonna give us a report.
Staff report.
Staff report,
Yeah.
love it, okay? And then, under 1.3. I wondered if we could change that to, instead of dollars and number of resources required, can we just say dollars and resources invested? Cause like,
We had
Yeah.
dollars invested and number of resources acquired. Those are the,
acquired?
It was acquired, it wasn't.
yeah, that's
Oh,
what
okay,
changes I've written
acquired
in.
then.
So it's dollars invested and number of resources acquired.
And then under at CH2, 2.3. These are just a few things, but, can you go down to 2.3?
We were gonna delete that. And replace it with objectives that Mary was going to provide us, because she had a number of individual objectives.
Okay, because I was thinking, I was gonna say complete or incomplete, but, if she was gonna give us, then that comes out then?
Yeah, that's my expectation. Has she done that for us? Because remember her presentation had actually, I think, a lot of the same language. It had objectives and actions. And rather than have sort of the outreach strategy as a general thing, then she was gonna give us 2 or 3 specific objectives.
Specific objectives, so projects with the Little Libraries project, oh, that's mentioned
It's
above.
already there.
Um,
I'd have to see her presentation again, but I know at the very beginning it had the kind of language you were using in this.
yes, she actually did send me an outreach plan too, so I can just pull from that. How many examples would you like to see?
It's not so much examples as her plans for this year and the actions that she's planning.
But she doesn't need to put them all in there, but like some
There's
sort of
like-
summary that we
There was
can.
like 2 of them. There
Oh,
wasn't very
okay.
many. It was
Yeah.
the very top of her presentation. She had whatever objectives and then actions.
Okay,
But I don't know that they had any measures. The measures may have showed up later.
I can quickly pull it up.
Yeah, so it was it's above where we had, I think, one above that. Yeah, so she had objectives. And then I think she gets into more of the actions. Primary activities, timing. The only thing I'm not sure she had was, well, she has measures. So I just thought I'd see maybe,
yeah.
3 or
some of the
4.
measures.
Based on her, objectives slide at the very beginning.
Yeah, attendance. Attendance. Results, events.
Really, all that needed to be done is figure out which objective they related to. Was it about community hubs or service or organizational excellence?
Do you want to do this after or?
I'm just thinking of how instead of develop an outreach strategy, is it just a matter of, like an annual report on outreach that comes back to the board? I think I'm getting confused.
That's what I was gonna say.
I'd
Just
be
a
happy
staff
with that.
report. Just a staff report.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Because the big one that we're keen, not that we're not keen on all of them, but that little libraries, right, so we've got that pulled out. Staff report on accomplishments,
As the measure
yeah,
and keep this broad language.
Mhm.
Okay,
is that okay? Laura?
yeah.
So does that mean you have to have a different strategy every year?
I think you'd end up with that kind of line every year, and she just do a staff report to develop the actual.
And the activities in the report would be different each year.
And
Is someone gonna be that creative? And resources, is that?
I saw a previous report that came to the board and it was pretty detailed.
We would have been doing strat planning.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because that was what, last time she was really, well, she was off for. Yeah, she did all the strat planning stuff, led that process, and then she was gone after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt Lee.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, that's fine, I can,
I mean, we could maybe tweak it next year too, right? Like it'll probably, these things get more concrete with time. Where are we? Cause I had something on OE, but I don't know
we haven't gotten there yet.
okay.
But we also got some questions from Joanne that she emailed. So since we went back to the beginning, we may as well just do that now. On the first one, which is about increasing outreach to older adults, she was commenting on the fact that we're using the word outreach to mean a couple of different things. And she's wondering about provide outreach to older adults. Is that actually
Part of the annual outreach.
a service? Or no, is that like a service we're providing them? Or is that questions we're asking them? That's the gist of her question. So is it to reach out to older adults to explore new partnerships? Or are we providing a service to older adults that are about partnerships? I think it's probably reach out to based on the way the rest of it's worded.
Yeah.
I can hear the wheels turning here.
When I read it, it means provide services outside of the library to older adults.
Okay, in which case outreach is the right language. Yeah, okay. That was one of them. She also asked about 2.1, where we've said establish, go down a bit.
Right.
That's okay, right there. We've got established case facility expansion with TBM and key partners, and she's wondering if that should be create a plan for facility expansion to match community population requirements. That's what we're really trying to achieve.
Sorry, but it's the same thing. You're gonna establish the case, which means you're coming up with a plan to make the case, to pitch it, to sell it, right? This, I would say,
Yeah, I see it as
It's
the
the same
same
thing.
too, because your whole reason for expansion is because our population base is changing.
yeah,
So it becomes one of the reasons for the case.
yeah.
Okay, she was wondering if perhaps we'd already made the case, but I don't.
No,
I don't think we will have.
Yes, yeah.
we haven't, or what, I mean, we have to redo it until they agree.
Yeah,
It's
Okay.
been done for 10 years, but we.
Yeah, exactly.
then she also suggested under measures, we might say council supports expansion and directs town staff accordingly. I don't think it's necessary.
Might be too specific.
And then direct council.
Yeah, we can't,
It's like we're trying to tell them what to do.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
that's well.
So I'm not gonna do that. And how did we change the outreach one? Or
We
something,
didn't.
we didn't, we were gonna do something about,
Are we still on 2.1?
No, we finished.
well, we just moved on.
Because just, there's still that period and comma in that first under actions.
Oh, thank you. I will remove that.
Under the measure, I think we were talking about saying something different for the outreach one.
So which one are we on
2.3.
now? Okay, thank you.
So Jen, I think you suggested saying something other than new services introduced, but I didn't.
Yeah, I have the change. So we're going to change the measures to staff report on annual activities.
Sorry to do this, but going back to Joanne's point about the provide outreach to older adults, didn't we have a discussion about since we're providing outreach to the one we're on now, develop an annual outreach strategy, that would include the older adults, so maybe didn't we mean back up to the 1.1 that we were like, it's not going out to older adults, but we want to provide more services to bring in older adults. Right, because we're duplicating 1.1, it overlaps with
Yeah.
2.3, develop an annual outreach strategy, would include seniors.
So what are you suggesting?
So what I'm suggesting is maybe we clarify 1.1 and not interpret it as outreach to older adults, but change the wording of outreach in 1.1 to provide more opportunities, more.
That's what you said, more services.
Yeah. I go ahead with Joanne's point. What was her wording, Laurie?
Reach out to.
Oh.
Basically, about a conversation.
So she's looking at from the perspective of asking the older people what they would want. And then doing something based on that,
Mhm.
rather than doing additional outreach to what we're currently doing.
Right.
Yeah, so it's the more front end piece of the strategy then.
But that would be in this current one here with the annual community plan, right?
We'd also, I think, said that we would measure this would be the number of older adults reached was going to be the measure for that. I think we edited this on a live version.
Yeah.
Because I've got
number of
changes.
older, which is more-
Yeah, so we, last time we were working on it, you were looking at something
I was here to those.
live.
Are you traveling?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I downloaded this directly.
Like there could be three different things, right? Reaching out to adults and asking their opinion, giving them more services and.
Yeah,
No.
That's the updated
Yeah,
version.
outside, inside, and what do you want?
Is that the older version?
No, that's the newer version. That's when we edited last meeting.
So
I must
That's
have, I
good.
sent it the wrong, I apologize.
that's all right. We're redoing ourselves and we're not even being consistent. Surprise.
Well, look at that. And we do have staff report in there.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
We had number of new
So I
partnerships.
bet you got that period and comma in this one.
Let's check. No, I
No, you
didn't.
didn't.
Okay, I am going to make note of this for myself. I apologize. That was my fault.
It's an easy mistake.
we
There were a
should
lot
go
of
to that version then, right?
This should, yeah, we can work from this one, and what I can do just for the public too is make a note. Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you,
that's better, because I thought we were missing some of the changes.
okay.
I just thought we were, yeah, no, I agree here.
I feel like that was bound to happen. There's a lot of different versions, okay.
Number of order was hosted, yeah.
Okay. Let's, can we maybe jump, let's go straight now to the empowering services, because we made no changes there. So we were all looking in advance at the correct, the most recent version.
Okay, so the
And
one,
then-
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and what are we passing with?
It's, I got
Mints, very
from,
nice.
kindly got from Enbridge.
Oh, good.
And enrichments.
So we're on
Company.
OE.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
That's okay, thank you.
Yeah, so, no, ES one, we that only just got reached the beginning of services last time.
ES1, okay.
Oh, sorry, I also, this was highlighted, but I'll keep what the decision was today.
Yeah,
Okay. So, we've changed this to a staff report.
Mhm.
Okay. And we're going to ES
One,
one.
so looking for any,
We just also, sorry, back to CH3, we had added something in there, right? Number of public sessions. 100 computer installed. I'm good with that.
Okay,
Okay. ES 1.1. Any changes? Okay. 1.2.
No,
How do you decide what to circulate?
Hmm?
How do you, what framework do you use to make a decision on your library of things, what to circulate?
What to
Like
add,
a
what to
plan?
add, what to add to the collection?
Mhm.
Okay.
well, there's a lot of different factors. So obviously if there's community demand for a particular something, we'll look into it, but then the other factors would be storage space. There's,
So do you have like a checklist or something that outlines these kind of criteria?
I'm not sure if a
Or
checklist
it's
is
just based on your opinion?
Yeah, and I think we also apply the same principles that we do to our physical collection of books, like and that sort of thing too, but ultimately, it's the same, you know, cost, storage,
Demand.
demand. Whether or not it's, I don't know,
Lendable.
yeah, there's sort of, it's very similar to how we would apply our policy to purchasing books.
Yeah, it sounds to me from what you're saying that you do have a checklist, it's just in your head of,
Elisa may have a checklist. I could always ask her, but yeah.
That's okay.
Okay, moving on to ES 2.1, expanding digital literacy and competence in the community. Okay, 2.2, respond to demand for more services for digital learning.
We could remove this.
I thought that was nice and specific.
I think this transferred over from last year's plan, and I guess my question would be, why LinkedIn Learning?
Oh, I thought there was a reason it was there.
There was someplace else I thought we addressed this question, but maybe we managed to delete it in the second spot. So do you think this might be a duplicate? Maybe it's something you've already done?
I don't remember how that got added back in. But yes, it definitely, LinkedIn Learning was identified in last year's action plan as a specific digital resource that we were targeting, and it may have been because there wasn't a lot of use. I'm not entirely sure. It's definitely one of our e-resources that's specifically focused on upgrading your skills. But you could also argue that our digital collections are part of digital learning.
So get rid of it then if it's not something that it's a goal. If you don't have a goal to increase it by 10%, it's covered above. Number of new digital.
The one thing about LinkedIn Learning too is there's really no alternative, so it's, you know, like if usage is low, would that be the only factor in getting rid of LinkedIn Learning? Probably not.
I mean, this is yours kind of, right? Like, this is the combined. So if you think it should come out,
Mm-hmm.
I
It's up to
do.
you. Yeah, okay. Out it goes. So then our new 2.2 is support TBM's commitment to eco-consciousness as identified in the Blue Mountains Future Story.
Now, didn't Joanne have a comment about this? She
She liked it.
The environmental.
Really liked having this called out as a strategic objective.
There was something where she talked about the families were. In her
Joanne
email.
sent comments to two of us, Chair and Vice Chair. Oh, and Jennifer, of course.
Let me look.
Oh, she was one, ES 2.3, love this initiative. Climate Action
Yeah.
Now Network has just launched Families for Climate Action. They might be a good partner to coordinate learning sessions that would also help them generate signups for them by more families. I have a contact if needed. So that's the one we're on now. So that's just a comment.
Well, there's actually lots of groups in town that are working on climate
Mhm.
stuff, and so I would think you don't have to specify them, that just comes through language programs and what has been delivered.
Yeah, she's not suggesting any change, just supporting the
Okay.
Yeah,
existence of this.
Should we just say something about partnerships though? Like, it's not just programs hosted in our resources, and a number of. Cause it would be good if we.
well, yes, a
welcomed
lot
few
of that
them
would
into
be
the tent,
with
right?
partners.
Hmm?
A lot of that would be achieved with partners.
Right, so
It's
the
already
word
established.
partner should be there somewhere then.
By programming and resources in conjunction with local organizations.
Isn't that
So you
already?
want to limit it to,
No, not to name them.
no, I
Oh,
was,
local.
no, you said in conjunction with, that means you can't do anything standalone.
Oh.
So, but maybe as a measure, we can say number of participants engaged, number of participants.
Partnerships.
Yes, partnerships.
Yeah.
Number of
Isn't-
partners and.
Just isn't partnerships and all that already listed earlier? Like, is it necessary to repeat it? To cultivate partnerships in the community, like, it's the same
Mhm.
thing,
I would
like, it's
be,
already there.
yeah, and I'd be
right?
hesitant to say number of partnerships
Yeah,
created, because to me, that sounds a little bit more formal.
I would say keep it this way, cause it's clean and it's concise, but that's just my opinion.
No, I would support that too, because especially because you do have partners elsewhere, it's just from an action perspective, this is just something you have to keep in mind to deliver on this. You know, there's multiple people that can help.
And then when we're, reporting on it, if partnerships were created, you can always report on a number of, you know, X number of partnerships were, which is like in addition to what you had hoped to achieve, so.
Yeah.
A bonus matter.
Yeah, I thought that's a good word.
And we do have say underlying themes, and I thought there was a one on partnership. Huh, guess not me. Okay. So moving on to ES 3, expanding the virtual branch, 3.1, build community connections through a service portal. We did have a bit of a conversation around that, what was the purpose of the portal? But I think that was a conversation we three had.
Wasn't that what Sabrina was trying to achieve and develop, where you're listing all the community resources?
Mhm.
And creating a web page that, yeah, that and didn't have a web page. Oh, and that's where we got into the question of, you know, if someone's making money on this,
Yeah.
you know, but I think this is a good starting point.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the administration of it, Jen's got work to do on that.
I can give a brief operational update about, so the webpage has been created. We're not quite ready to launch, but we actually made the decision to not list for-profit services. Instead, we have a link to the towns. They have their own portal that connects you to all of the local businesses. I think it's a business directory of sorts. And so, I mean, we'll probably go back, revisit and adjust once we launch the initiative, but.
I duplicate it, yeah.
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 That's
Then you
right.
don't have to worry about updating it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you can cross-reference.
yes.
But weren't you putting in the nonprofits and charity people too? Like, wasn't that the intent on that?
It would be, so how we have it organized now is it'll fall under volunteering on the website. So the intention would be that it's people willing to volunteer their time to share skills.
So you mean like if there's a carpenter that wants to role model skills to somebody or something, is that what you're indicating?
If you want to learn how to sew, hand sew something, is there someone in the community that could provide that knowledge to another community
Oh, okay.
member or that sort of thing? We've also talked about, there's a really natural partnership with I can't remember the name of the church, but they host the Repair Cafe.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's probably natural collaboration there.
We had a lengthy conversation about this last time.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, OE one. So here's my little favorite typo, 1.1 says cleat.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Not
Yeah,
anymore,
okay.
okay. So anything on 1.1? This is our job. And just, by the way, at the June meeting, I want to focus on timing and implementation of these, because we've just got 5 months worth of naming our objectives. Now we have to figure out how we're going to accomplish them. So that's my focus in the June meeting. 1.2,
Wait, but how do
Right.
you revise evaluation instruments to the strategic plan? Do you mean revise instruments to align with the strategic plan?
to accomplishment of the strategic plan.
To accomplishment of, okay. Accomplishment of. No,
I'm confused.
to accomplishment of the. Yeah,
Okay,
1.2, unique opportunities for staff to learn and grow.
Is the minimum of 5 learning opportunities, is that per staff?
sorry,
Where you say the, measures, minimum of 5 learning opportunities, is that per staff?
no,
That's in total? Because you talk about organizational learning opportunities for staff.
so she means she'd bring in 5 courses. and staff
And
that
then,
attend.
or like, it could even be an internal training,
Right, okay,
another
okay.
staff presenting at a
Yeah.
staff meeting.
okay, I got that now.
Do you want to add a measure for the staff representation on regional and provincial committees?
And, yeah, maybe it's just number of staff participating. Or number
Or a number of
committees,
committees that we participate on?
yeah, number of committees, yeah, it's good.
I hesitate to put a measure like that.
Why?
It has to be worthwhile, if you have.
What about a staff report?
Yeah,
Do you want one annually about here is where we're represented on a provincial, regional level, and this is what we've accomplished?
yes, that would be good.
Mhm. Yeah, because it's all about learning and growing.
Okay,
Okay. 1.3, maintaining board competency.
Did we all get an email about having to accomplish something by June?
Yeah.
No, before, yeah.
the
It's
IT,
the IT security.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was.
It's like-
Yeah.
It's them taking.
It's okay, I just wanted.
It
to
is
sure
legitimate.
valid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good question though, because that's the whole focus of the
Yeah.
training.
I think that's why he sent the email in advance, saying you're gonna get a link shortly, and it's
Yeah.
legit, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I got halfway done this morning.
I saw it too, but I was afraid to click on it. Because I actually have gotten an email in through there that was, I'm sure was spam.
Oh, they send them as spam to test us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I got one that just deleted. And then thought, uh-oh, there's something about, finalizing my phone or something. So I deleted it and I go, oh no, do I get like a separate phone? I don't want a separate phone.
Yeah, yeah. but they do, they try to, they
Tricky.
trick you with that, you know, so the things that you should be watching for.
So,
So, yeah, so don't ever be cooperative.
If it's important enough and you delete it, they'll send it again.
And if you accidentally click on something, you find yourself doing more training.
Well,
I know.
if you click the little fish button with the little hook, it sends it to IT right away, so then they would be,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yes. Well, when you take the training, you'll learn, when you push that, it sends it, it removes it from your inbox and sends it directly to IT. So if it was intentional, then IT will come back and say, actually, this is real. Here it is again. So there's no harm, there's no harm, you'll learn, there's no harm, no foul in pushing the phishing button,
okay,
but to kind of do shed the light on, it's all of our responsibility, so
Yeah.
don't send them the things that you find annoying, like spam, don't, like, they have a lot of things to do, so don't, you know, just because you're irritated by an email from some group or person or whatever,
I haven't done that.
they teach you to sort of like, hopefully toe the line, right, like,
Right.
and to see the difference between phishing and between spam,
Okay.
right? Spam is just a bunch of stuff, phishing is click here, open this,
Get your
do that,
information.
so just FYI, but you'll see once you start the course.
Okay, so for the measure of the minimum of 4 sessions. And we're halfway through the year.
And I think we've already probably hit that, because some people did OLA.
Okay,
Who did OLA?
Well, I
conference?
attended the governance sessions on behalf of the board.
okay.
I'm not sure that can count that.
Learning outcomes were in the staff report.
I read the slides for the assembly board that I was supposed to attend on the 30th, but I couldn't, so I can give an update on that sometime.
Okay,
So that's a minimum of 4 sessions for the board as a whole.
yes,
Okay. Okay. Can we count the security stuff we just talked about for 40 minutes?
I think so. Well, we'll be doing more, I am working too to try and develop some sort of training for the board on SharePoint.
Yeah, that was.
So that will be.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, it's coming.
But yeah, the IT training as well, yeah. Okay, 1.4, maintain pay and internal equity. I think that's,
You're gonna update us on that, right?
Yeah.
okay. OE 2.1,
It was done.
okay, 2.2,
We just need a date.
We're doing it.
Right?
Yes. And there's been conversation today about other CEOs asking other CEOs if they've actually presented it yet. Can you share the format? So I'm just sort of waiting.
and do we have the final version of Volt? I mean, the template, the
Yes,
corrected template,
yes. So I
Okay.
still need to work on that.
okay. So what's our TBD? Applying the Volt and integrate results into council and public presentations. So what's the measure?
Report to the board. Presentation to council.
Hmm,
I thought it was just, yeah, that the board, that we finish our analysis of it. You do it, we analyze it, and we will make recommendations, I guess, depending on what it says. Like, does it go to the council as is? Do we need some more work on pieces of it?
Well, it is about communicating our impact, so I think communication has to be a piece of this, in terms of the measure.
It would probably make sense to present it around budget conversations in the early fall.
Or ahead of them.
I
We
would
can
say
probably
ahead
start,
of
yeah, ahead of them, yeah. Okay, so measure is certainly presentation to council.
Because all of this is part of our case of needing more space.
Mhm.
And so it was our ammunition, so somehow that has to get back to council before budget time.
Yes, for budget. So we also mentioned another publication, public presentations. So maybe measure the number of public presentations.
Where are we?
We're under 2.2, and we're looking at the measures.
Are you saying, Roy, that we present the vote to, community members as well as council?
I think that's what our action is about. Integrate results into council on public presentations.
So what would be an example of a public presentation? Just information at the farmer's market when they set up their booth for outreach,
Or even doing a vote presentation to the community. Having on our website.
We haven't ever done that, have we, in terms of, an open house, public presentation, you know, like a town hall or something to that effect? Which actually might make sense, because then you get the whole community to understand what we're after and why. We haven't, that I'm aware of, done that.
We've done quite a few town halls in the past, but
Oh,
not
okay.
recently,
Okay,
not since this board started.
no.
Well, and if the whole board is there, then it's also considered a board meeting. Right?
I don't think we're often at a bunch of stuff, we're just not talking about board business amongst ourselves.
No, this is different. It's-
Yeah. Because if you're want to do a board presentation to the community, multiple board members is a good thing, doesn't have to be a board meeting.
Okay.
You just communicate that no business is gonna be furthered by the number of quorum, right?
Mhm.
We do it all the time with council. There, you know, there's gonna be a quorum of council out there, but no business will be furthered. It's just a statement you put out there before. It's really, it's a good workaround just to say, hey, yes, we're all gonna be in the same room, but we're not doing anything, right?
Well, that's what council does all the time when they want public opinion on stuff, and
Are we kind of digressing? It's just, isn't it something like number of presentations?
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting.
Yeah.
Okay, 2.3.
I have a suggestion for one of the measures.
Go ahead.
So you have, create public signage, for the appropriate behavior, and then you say number of signs. It's not really number of signs, it's the number of locations where they're posted.
So number of sign locations maybe, or
Yeah.
locations of signs.
And has anything been posted yet?
No, something's been created and it's just with the management team right now. We're just really debating over language. So, but it's basically finished.
Are the cameras in?
No.
Oh,
you got approval for them, or can you just purchase them on your own?
We have some funding confirmed, but I haven't received an official quote for Ellie Shore yet. And we haven't confirmed who's paying for it once we get that quote. But at the last board meeting, one of the reports that came to the board was about an accessibility feasibility report. And part of that was, should the board fund half of the report, the town would be able to fund installation of cameras at the depot, so that will be happening. That's the only concrete funding that I have confirmed for cameras at this point.
Okay. Moving on, 3.1. So this is probably fine. 4.1,
Oh,
I'm waiting.
wait, what happened to OE4? We're not at OE4 yet. Okay.
Just,
Or no, we are.
We just arrived.
Okay.
Did you have something?
I had it under for 2.3. What am I doing?
Just give their charitable status.
Well,
I didn't, but I didn't have any, it looked like they wanted to say anything.
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
She was there.
Just thought that's what Joe was referring.
No, not me, keep going.
so,
I've misnamed what I was.
I'm just filling this in now while we're here because this just happened yesterday.
Right, I don't know what this means, so just gonna.
anything on 4.1? Seeing nothing. 4.2,
Now, 4.1, what you've listed there were all the dates of your meetings, I'm assuming, is that correct?
Yes.
So when you're using the word strong communication, I don't know how you're defining that. To me, it would be, are you giving support for your needs?
Where you, maintain strong communication?
I think that kind of information would come to staff report.
Okay. Because it's one thing to just have a meeting, but if you're totally shut out, then that meeting's ineffective.
Mhm.
Yes, we insisted on your voice at the table.
4.2,
I will be presenting on June 3rd.
The cultural map,
Pardon me?
cultural mapping or?
No,
Year in
June
review.
3rd's the year in review. That'll be my first delegation to council since I've been hired.
Mhm.
And then Alessia will be presenting the cultural map. I think it was June 13th or 14th. So we will have FaceTime in front of council twice in June.
moving on to 4.3.
Now, this is the one I just thought in the measurement, it's increased participation outside of TBM, like, shouldn't it be participation within and external to the region? Like, we also want people within the TBM, right? It just sounds like we're only looking for people outside TBM.
My question was gonna, how do you measure that?
The number of participants, I think, like, they set up stalls or.
Outside of the, but how do you
You
distinguish?
just have somebody counting them all?
No, the number of people that are there, like, people on your lawn would count as one.
But it's the outside of the TBM that I was wondering how.
Oh. So you're not saying to have more, you're saying have more people come to the arts and crafts walk.
I'm just trying to think back to the last meeting. I remember we were talking about this. So the goal is to promote the art scene regionally.
Okay,
So why do you care whether it's inside or outside?
Yeah, that's what I was-
Yeah, that's what I was getting hung up on the outside.
yeah,
Well, the regional part is why,
Okay.
the region of South Georgian Bay, right? It's
But
a
then-
regional aspect means outside of this town. That's what your objective is to get people from Collingwood and Meaford.
Okay, so then my question would be,
how do you measure that then? Yeah.
We could do, like, with some of our programs and events, and we did do this last year with the Arts Walk, we do like feedback forms
Mhm.
and encourage people to provide us with feedback to improve the event. So it could just be a matter of including a question on, do you live within the town of Blue Mountains?
Yeah.
So then my next question is, what are you increasing it from? What's your base?
We're studying it, right?
Are you assuming that there was zero, so at 10%, you've got a 10%, like what's your base that you're increasing from?
I guess last year and the feedback that we received
So,
from last
so you
year.
know the number that were outside of the TBM from last year?
That's a loaded question because she wasn't here.
Yeah, I know.
I want to say yes, but I don't actually know the answer to that.
Just because when you say increased
Yeah.
participation, you're assuming you have a baseline that you're increasing from.
Why don't you say feedback?
Yeah, because you're not really counting all
Yeah, and
numbers.
we don't need to count, like, what, does it matter if it's like 1,000 or 1,050? I mean. It's more, we want positive feedback, right?
Joanne had some comments around this. She didn't like the wording, the promote TBM art. See, because she thought it sounded like it was a town initiative, whereas in fact it's a library initiative. So she wondered if we might say expand art gallery services through outreach programs. Or engage the broader community in arts appreciation. Or increase community access to local artists. But I think the question really for me is, why are we doing the arts walk? I think it's a great idea, but what's it's trying to achieve, which is what should be under.
Well, and this is
Objective.
also under be a key partner within the municipality. I thought it would make sense to report on what that partnership looks like. And you know, how many how are they working with us for this event? So it's sorry, I'm just thinking out loud.
Do we have the right action?
I'm not sure promote is the actual goal.
No, and I'm sorry, so let's go back to the action. Engage TBM in the advertising and implementation of the arts walk. So is that what we really want? Is
So-
that what we care about? Or what do we care about here?
Yeah, so when I read that, so I saw something on the Blue Mountain Facebook forum about the arts work, it doesn't say the library's the lead in it anywhere. So when I read through it, it's like it's the town of Blue Mountain's the lead on it, so.
Where was it?
So there's a Blue Mountain forum Facebook.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, and somebody had posted something about the arts walk, and I said, oh, cool, I'm gonna read it.
That's the form, that's not, that's.
Well, so we've put out a little bit of advertising right now, and the Facebook event, which could have been shared in that community group, is an event under the library's Facebook page.
Okay.
And all of the ads that have gone out are on the library's social media. We have a webpage now as well that
Okay.
we've launched. The conversations we're having, we may start to advertise with both logos moving forward, but the decision hasn't been made.
Well, what's the other logo?
The town's
The town
logo.
logo.
As and ours.
Yes,
Yeah.
and should we get the approval to do that, then we will also be issuing a joint media release that will have
Okay.
both logos. So
Yeah.
it's really a matter of the town is supporting us and working with us on this event, but do they want to formalize the partnership? And that's sort of where we are.
Okay, so after you say that and you put that line into context, then it does
Yeah.
make sense, engage the town of Blue Mountains with, yeah.
Because I just got the email yesterday. Tim, about,
Oh,
so
okay, yeah.
I would say we're on our way to being formally partnered on this, because I volunteered to run the barbecue aspect of it,
Right.
so.
So maybe we want to do a measure that simply is increased participation or something of that sort.
Well, but
Because
if
we
your,
would probably
if your
have-
action is to engage, then your measure would be, did you engage them or not? You would think, right?
Yes,
And that measure, I mean, we might not want to throw that measure out, but maybe we want to say, and then the next action would be to increase participation or do outreach to increase participation or something, right? So.
No,
we talk-
isn't it the fact that you've now engaged with the town to,
But see, the line there is just engage with the town.
right,
And then after you engage with the town, then you want to actually do the advertisement, right? No, I think you got it. No, I think you're right. Yeah.
it's really two actions there.
Yeah.
You've engaged the town, so you've working with the town, so it's a shared responsibility. And then the second part is implementation of the walk.
So maybe we want two measures. One is that you got the town engaged, and then the second one is the increased participation.
like town engaged, complete, incomplete, or
It's-
partnership.
Or is it
Partnership established.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're well on the way to getting that, so that's good. And then your increased participation gets to the last part of that line, okay?
But I'm still not convinced we need to go after the regional part of it, like, I think just increase participation wherever they come from.
And then in the staff report, or whenever we're talking about accomplishments, you can talk about the increase.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, is we could make the measure basically increase participation, because I'm pretty sure we have a baseline from last year, just general participation. And if we wanna take a look, at outside of the TBM, then we can create our baseline this year by trying to measure that somehow. I think that's
okay.
Where are you from, or like,
Mhm.
So is the recommendation to also remove the word regionally?
I don't think it adds value, but
Yeah. I
that's
think
just my
good.
opinion.
Promote the art scene, that would. You can imply it's regionally in there, like that would encompass everything, right?
And maybe you just want to, we want to say promote Blue Mountains art scene, as opposed to trying, at this point, we appear, according to Joanne, labeled it as a town. You know,
We are the town of Blue Mountains, it's the municipality.
yeah, I guess the difference is, are we talking about the community, or are we talking about the town council and staff? Because that's,
I wouldn't take that from there.
Yeah.
It's what we're called.
yeah, I agree,
We're not-
but that was, I think that was Joanne's concern.
It would be if you wanted, if we were gonna get into specifics, if we were coordinating it to the corporation of the town of the mountains, then we would talk about the town. But we're not,
Okay, so leave it as
broad
TP.
scope, yeah.
Okay. You done with this one?
Mm-hmm.
5.1. Build an audience on all communications platforms.
Just for consistency's sake, do you want to say the same town, do you want to say TBM?
Rather than to town.
Yeah, just for consistency.
I think that makes sense. I guess the only thing though is what if, and I haven't actually. I don't believe I've actually approached them to see if we could add a section for library news in their newsletter. But what if the answer is no? Is that really a reflection of? Like evaluating the CEO?
Well, maybe the
or-
newsletter isn't the route you go then. Like, so you go the newsletter and then they say no.
Oh, okay, I guess it's just listed as a potential example, or I can just remove
Yeah.
Why
it.
don't we just take it out? And then if you have increased collaboration, then you're not restricted to just the newsletter.
Let's do the
Okay.
report.
That makes sense.
Because when we made our last council presentation, delegation, didn't they make some suggestions there about how we should be communicating more with each other? Because Sabrina made the point of, we can help you achieve your goals too, and stuff like that, and that came out at that meeting. But I don't know what the vehicles were, but there didn't seem to be any resistance. Anyways, it leaves it open-ended for you to find whatever channel you can.
Okay,
Okay. And then last one, expand BNPL's network of engaged citizens and groups.
So back to the add line information to the town hall, I would assume the library is already in that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, anything 5.2? Hearing nothing?
Well, that's always been like this huge, like,
Big job out there, we haven't.
monster that we haven't, yeah.
But maybe it would be easier if we indicate why. Like, what's the focus or what's the need? Like, why are we wanting to have? It goes back to our strategic plan to achieve our
Well, it's really about getting community support,
Yeah.
expanding
Mhm.
community support for the library.
Yeah, to get, building.
Which is why it worked out very well from our last meeting. I was able to provide Mary Dodge with the information for the Craiglee Community Working Group, and she's all set up now. I'm super excited to do a pop-up at the shed. And that community is really excited
Who's
too.
Mary Dodge?
She's married.
Our staff member who was here last meeting,
With your last-
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
we only met her once.
So she's super pumped about it, and that's where it helps to build the community aspect of library services in Craigleith, right? It's a little ways.
Yeah, so they're we're going after it to develop community supporters.
So we're already putting a check in the box. And I was contacted by one of the members of the Craigleith Community Working Group, who's super thrilled that Mary's coming with the library set up to do the pop-up.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yep, because a lot of them don't realize what we have to offer. So now they will, and then they'll tell their friends, and either they'll realize that they can come here or rally to get an expansion.
Here's what we need in an
How
expansion.
you do it.
Great.
I was telling Jen, like at your last meeting, I was out west and so I toured the Edmonton Library. And they've just had a huge renovation, but it's bigger than us, it's 3 floors and not the floor space. But talk about makerspace and stuff, ideas there for children's program and fantastic. So there's stuff we can learn from other libraries. So this is what we need all these people to say, we need to get some of this stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, and actually you just made me realize as you were speaking, Sean, that a lot of some of these things, and particularly that last one we just talked about, there'll be very small incremental steps. And so it'd be useful at our meetings to make sure we bring forward, in this, we go through the action plans. Oh, by the way, under this topic, this is a step that's been taken, because that's a great connection to have made for Mary.
Just gets it out there, gets it going.
Okay, so,
But to me, it's also saying that we're not the front runners here. That there's other libraries that are doing a lot of this stuff too, so we're just trying to catch up.
oh yeah, and we don't have the space to catch up,
No,
and that's part of our concern.
exactly.
And have we expressed very clearly what makerspace is and what can contribute? And,
I bet you if you walk out in the street and say
They would
something,
have no idea.
they have no idea.
Yeah.
So there's a whole education piece around it. Or part of your communication plan.
okay, so anything more on the action plan before we have a motion to approve it?
Okay.
Cool. And when you're ready, Jen, the next item is your 3 verbal reports.
Okay. So a quick update on the Arts and Crafts Walk. Last year, we branded it as the Arts Walk. This year, we've added sort of that crafts piece just to be more inclusive and to attract other artisans to the project. I mentioned earlier in the meeting that we have started to advertise. We haven't been doing heavy advertising just yet. But we have been collaborating with the town again. They've taken on a larger role in supporting us in this event. So we did secure some funding to assist with advertising. to assist with some of the insurance costs as well. But, we have all of our homeowners on board. We have, tons of artists that are going to be involved this year. Now that our manager of community engagement is back, we are sort of expanding how many volunteers that we are recruiting specifically for the event. So Mary will be hosting an actual one-day training session for the volunteers. So essentially, we're well on track in planning this event. We're trying to get a little bit more council buy-in as well and see if there's some more direct involvement on that part. And last year we had about 800 participants, so our goal this year is to try and reach more people, but really just build momentum on the event. So you'll see increased advertising probably about a month before, so we do have a formal marketing plan in place. But things are well on track for
So
that.
our driveway's being used.
Oh,
It was
really?
used last year. My husband's an artist, so.
Oh,
he did a
okay.
booth, and then a friend did a booth, so the two of them are doing it again this year.
That's
It
great.
was really good last year.
I wasn't here for it, so I'm excited
It
to,
was a really nice day and, yeah, it was a really good event.
hopefully we can get the former CEO back for the event too. I think she'll probably attend. And if there are any board members that do want to volunteer that day, or at least be present, that would be great. Our plan too is to create some fun T-shirts for all of the people that are being directly involved in the event, and it'll just help the public identify.
What's the date again?
It's Saturday, July 6th. And it starts at 10 AM, it ends at 4 PM.
Oh, isn't that, I don't know if that matters.
It does. I didn't have the video on. It was recording. There we go.
This voice,
Thank you.
Time?
10 to 4 PM,
so you said July 6th?
July 6th. Yeah, so it's the weekend after Canada
So
Day.
do you know what you need in the way of volunteers yet?
So we may be hosting a barbecue at Ellie Shore pending food vendors that confirm if they're participating in the event. So we hypothetically would need volunteers for that. We would need volunteers to just essentially greet people and hand out physical maps. Or just direct people if someone, oh, where's the bathroom, or where can I get something to eat? So we'll have hopefully people along the route that can assist.
So
we're-
is Mary coordinating this? So do you want us to get a hold of Mary if we want to volunteer?
I'll send out an email to the board
Okay.
and I'll give more information, yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah. We're just sort of finalizing all of those details and what training would be required for which position essentially, and.
Do you know what the all-day training is?
We haven't picked one, but we're hoping probably a week or two before the event, and it'll likely be on a Saturday. I think that's it in terms of the arts walk.
You just made me wonder whether we want to count for our stats, number of artists participating. Compared to last year, because it is growing both in terms of both ends, yeah.
The other thing, sorry, I meant to mention is, that same day, we're launching our summer art exhibit. So the summertime is different in the gallery. It's a 2-month exhibit. And so I believe the show this year is a mix of quilts and antique furniture.
Hmm.
So, while everything else is going on, we'll also be doing that sort of opening reception. So Ellie Shore is a stop along the way. People can meet the artists. So there may also be an opportunity there to have a representative of the board or another library representative, well, whether it's me or not, making sure there's someone here at Ellie Shore for that particular piece of the event.
Would you be able to, this is going beyond just the arts walk, send something to the board that would say, here's sort of the dates that are coming up, here's what we'd like board participation, and we can sort of Because I think I'm busy on the arts when I would love to volunteer for that, but I'd like to do something else, so if you sort of give us the dates well in advance, we can.
Coincidentally, I think council just requested that, didn't they?
What's that?
Like a list of community events or opportunities for involvement.
That was a report that Tim brought forward at request of one of the counselors who decided that that wasn't what they wanted, or that's not what they meant. Anyway,
I will send it.
it was a good effort.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and then we can volunteer, and so that maybe get good board coverage on everything.
Yeah, like would you want a
Board
board,
coverage.
Board.
would you want a board member as well as a staff member, say, I know they have the booth at the farmer's market in Thornbury? Like, is that a place where you would want a board member sometimes, or not?
I don't see why not. I don't think it's a requirement, especially I would think if we were doing like strategic planning, I assume. There's certain initiatives where it makes sense for the board to be more community facing and involved. So there could be an opportunity for that.
Yeah, so why don't you go on it and then just say where there's potential for board participation,
Okay,
and then with the dates and.
and
I'm
that's,
sure you can volunteer any extra time you have for anything.
Yeah, I definitely want to see a difference between where you think a board member should be there
Yeah.
versus, you know.
The nice, so you
Yeah.
you could put priorities versus nice twos.
and that can just be an email.
Yeah, that would, I mean, you can email it, fine, right?
Well, I think I can go sometimes anyway.
Sorry, I just need to stand for my leg.
You're doing well.
Thank you. Right now it's yelling at me.
Weight bearing is good.
Oh, yeah, feels really good. So ready to move on to the cultural map?
So
Next report?
the cultural map, I mentioned earlier that our museum curator, Alessia, will be doing a presentation to council. And we were actually invited by council to do this presentation.
When is that again? June
I-
3rd?
I believe it's June 13th. I requested that date, so essentially the clerk gave me a list of days. I picked one and I'm just waiting for confirmation. And I also am just waiting for confirmation on timing, because I wasn't sure if being invited to do a presentation, if you get more time, or if it's still sort of limited to the same time as a delegation, but ultimately we're hoping for about 25-30 minutes in front of council.
Yeah, I think it's the invitation, in the invitation aspect, it's not a delegation, it's not a, a deputation, it's an invitation. Usually you get all the time in the world because we're
Okay.
asking you to come, right?
I figured that was the case. I'm just waiting for confirmation.
Yeah,
And once I get that from the clerk, I will notify the board and say for sure when that's happening, but the project has launched. So it is available for viewing on our website right now. Alessia has been doing some community consultation. She held a couple of drop-in sessions for the community to learn about the project, but also to contribute any potential locations or stories that would be relevant. And I think there's a few more sessions that are still happening this month, but the project has launched, the community is aware of it, and council will also get the detailed presentation in June.
Mhm.
Great. The next one, multi-use recreation facility feasibility study.
So that project's well underway. We have moved forward with Colleagues, I believe is the consulting firm. Yesterday I had a one-on-one with the consultants where, sorry, I just want to make sure technology isn't failing
I was
me.
wondering what moved just now.
I think we're okay. The one-on-one to talk about sort of our needs as a library, what documentation I need to share with the consultants. So all of the studies that have been shared with council will also be shared. I advocated for, our space needs. I mentioned all of that. And then I also provided some advice for community engagement and how the library could be directly involved in that part of the project. So it was a pretty good meeting.
Bet you they were glad to have you.
I hope so. But yes, as a group, now the next steps are, like, we have this one individual meeting with the consultants, and then we'll be meeting bi-weekly as a group, so both Town of Blue Mountains and the Town of Collingwood. Because there was a change in the development charges, legislation, the project's been extended, like the timeline has been adjusted a little bit, but it's going to be complete by the end of the year. Where I think originally the target completion date was early fall or end of fall, but it's been kind of pushed a little bit to the end of the year. But that's sort of the update that I have on that project right now. One other thing, actually, sorry. They were asking specific questions about our board, and I did explain that, you know, we have a very engaged, strong board that would want to be involved in this project as much as possible. So my hope after that conversation would be that the board will be just as involved in the project as council, so that the library is very much included in the entire study.
What might that look like?
So it could look like a focus group with the board. It could look like them visiting a board meeting to do updates on the project. But once the engagement plan's finalized, it'll be shared with the board as well. So
That'd be good, yeah.
So would a focus group with the board be a good, do you think that's something that would be useful?
We'd have to be prepared for it.
That's what I mean,
Like, what are the
yeah.
questions and,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, so we need a bit of a prep
Well,
session.
One of the things Sabrina raised quite a bit was the impossibility of having a library in another jurisdiction. Has that come up at all?
yes.
Like our library in, like, there's the Ontario Library Association or the,
Well, it would be tough
legislation.
because, yeah, it would be complicated. They are aware of that, and Collingwood Library CEO has also mentioned it.
okay, so for both them and us, placement of this, if it's to include a library, is going to be fairly tricky because there's gonna be jurisdiction issues.
Well, I think actually what we wanted to clarify is the purpose of the study is not to come up with one solution to
Okay.
recreation services. So it's not, they're gonna come back to council and say,
This
we
is
have a
where-
spot for a shared
Yeah.
multi-use facility. If anything, we're just sharing funding with the town of Collingwood for the study,
Yeah.
so that they can come back and say, these are your community's recreation needs, here are some
Okay,
options.
okay.
And then we take that and then it goes way up here. It's pushed onto a shelf that nobody's gonna look at.
No.
for another years.
No.
I'm sorry to say.
But there is resistance even from Collingwood too, right? So
Just don't be,
this is not a done deal.
don't
Well-
be surprised. It's a good thing. It's a study that needs to be done. It's exactly at the end of the day.
And we
it's
can
a study.
use it, like, we can make sure we get our points in there, you know,
Mhm.
that there will be some data that comes out of it that we will be able to use at some point somehow.
Mhm.
If nothing comes of.
I'm just trying to do my duty to manage your expectations. That's all.
From a library perspective too, the needs, I can confidently say that the needs of the town of Blue Mountains versus the town of Collingwood, based on my knowledge of my own community, but also my relationship with the CEO in Collingwood, they're very different.
Yeah.
They are.
They don't have makerspace or anything like that, do they?
Yes and no, they've converted a meeting room into, that was originally called the technology suite. They have similar technology to what we have. but it's a matter of, like, it's not a full-blown official makerspace, so. But I guess they kind of have more of one than we do. And they also have a staff member that oversees the technology where, we don't necessarily have one person designated to do makerspace programming at the library.
Because we don't have any space.
Yeah.
They have a teen room?
People make her.
On their second floor, it's like a designated teen space, but it's open. It's not, but they do have a teen librarian. Where we have a programmer that does programming for all ages. There isn't really a teen, designation. And I mean, we could also get into a really long conversation about just how different it is to be a teen librarian versus a children's librarian. So to put youth services all under one title gets a bit complicated.
Mhm.
Have you seen the Wasaga Beach Library?
I did visit it, yes.
So is there stuff that relates to this that's useful for us to know about, or it's not really applicable?
I don't think at this point,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, shall we move on?
Mhm.
So now we're into policy review. And the first set of policies are the system policies. And I'll let you get those up on the screen. And I think probably the best way to do this is, Jen, if you have something in particular you think you've changed or you want to bring to our attention, you could do that. And then anyone has any comments on that particular policy, and then we'll move on to the next policy.
Sure.
So you want to start with access to information, protection, privacy.
So really, what you'll notice in actually quite a few policies, I've added just more definitions. And I did, when I was going through all of our policies, I obviously did a little bit of a comparison to a few other libraries. If there's a specific department in the library, so for instance, the fundraising policy went to our manager of community engagement. So there were other people that took a look. So for this specific policy, the only thing that I really noticed that was missing was just reference to Canada anti-spam legislation. That's consistent with a lot of other access to information policies in public libraries.
So before you go, just a housekeeping question.
Mhm.
So you have original, just at the top, original approved, amended on, so you'll be updating that to say that this was amended on this. And then if the board approves it, does a second approval date get on that top part there, or?
No, so it'll say, when we
Amended on
review
like
it, yeah,
today, if we passed it, right?
yeah,
And then reviewed on would be today too, right?
yes. I believe,
I think it reviewed on was that we looked at it but didn't make an amendment, so we could see when something was last reviewed. So every other time we reviewed this, apparently. But we appear to have skipped 21, 22, and 23, so maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I would just like, I think up there would be nice to see the last date it was amended and the last date it was approved. So you've got the original approval date, but if we're supposed to approve them every year, would we want to indicate somewhere that the last approval wasn't 2018, the last approval would be 2020?
That's right. And this
Approval was only when there's been a change.
That's right, no, that's what I'm saying, so we'll use this one as an example, we'll accept all of Jen's changes in this, and as a board, we'll approve it. So somewhere on that policy should be the last approval date.
That would be into the amended date, that would be the last approval date. So we have the original approval,
Okay,
and then amended is the latest, most recent changes. So there would be.
Which is suggesting if there's no changes, then there's no date
But there
change.
is a change, we're.
Yeah,
amending it
there's
to
no
the
change.
date.
but if we go through another one and we've all reviewed it and there's no changes, would we not want to say it was reviewed on this date, even though there wasn't changes, so that you know that it
Yeah,
hasn't
exactly.
sat there and collected dust?
But are you saying that it implies when we say amended on, that it was amended and approved?
Yes.
So
Yes.
then we don't need to.
But
No. What
there's-
she's
but there's
saying
nothing
is-
happened in 21, 22, or 23,
Yeah.
and that's what puzzles me, because I would have thought they'd be reviewed on, because we review them annually.
That's right. I would have thought so too.
That's what Carol's saying.
Yeah,
And so we should have a date on.
There
the
should be a
review,
date
don't
on the reviewed.
Yeah, and it would be May of every year, because that's when our policy review meeting is.
Cause I looked at that and thought, wow, this hasn't been looked at since 2020.
It could have been the version, the editable version that I was working with.
But I mean, going forward, then we would put today's date on it.
Yeah, and I'm okay if it was reviewed and there was no changes and you put the review date of today, that means at least that it was looked at.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just because it's a board requirement to review these, and I'd like to know somewhere that we
Did it,
did it,
yeah, due diligence.
yeah.
So we want to get those reviewed on dates updated, is I guess part of what we're hearing. It'll be on all the policies,
So it would be on all the policies we're looking at today.
and that begs another question is, you brought forward policies that you're making recommended changes on, right?
Yeah,
But our obligation was to review all of the
I
policies.
did. I read every single one.
Did anyone understand that? Yeah, so we didn't just read, this, so she brought forward, we read all of them.
What,
No, just the ones that we are looking at.
these, the policies I brought forward were all of the system policies.
Yes.
Yes,
That's all of these red ones on the list, right?
Yeah.
yeah, okay. That's not true though for the human resources one, the health and safety ones, right? Because there's a whole bunch of ones that
Right.
aren't on here.
And
So
then,
let's deal with maybe
So
systems
hold
separately.
that when we get to
okay,
that point. I know what you're saying.
you're mixing it, I don't.
We have all the systems policies here, so
Yeah.
that's fine. So we'll just talk about the systems policies
Yeah,
for the moment. And so, yes, we've all reviewed everything in terms of the system policies, and they're all here listed. And so what we want to do is update the reviewed on, because we would have reviewed the system policy in year 2 4 years ago. Which makes sense. That's why it's not on here, because it's on our, because we're working from, just a little reminder, my files.
Certain one we do every year.
Yeah,
Not all.
see, we have the annual policy, which is in here. Looks like this. Everyone recognize this as policy, and so this is what I work with in terms of developing the agenda. And so this is what's on the agenda by month, and this one shows what's on occasional years. So year 2 is system review. So that's been true for a while, so probably the last system review would have been 4 years ago,
2020.
2020, which is.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so that's accurate then.
Yeah,
So it is accurate.
Yes, you're right, yeah,
Okay.
perfect, yeah.
So now it'll be updated to be reviewed on 2024.
And since we've
Amended.
already made changes, it's gonna say reviewed and we'll have a review date and an amended date.
Yeah,
I think that's best.
Yeah.
It's just clearer,
I agree.
because otherwise you just don't know, right? If it just said,
Are we gonna, question to the chair, are we gonna approve each and every one of these, or are we gonna approve them as a total?
As a
Okay.
bunch, a whole bunch of.
but we'll go through each
Okay.
Yeah,
individually.
and then we'll do
Yeah.
one motion. So that's
Okay.
laid out here.
Okay, so we got 18 more, so.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, I have a question on this one.
Sure.
It talks about security, that reasonable efforts will be done, and yet as a board, we're responsible. So I'm not sure what reasonable efforts means exactly. But also, like, I know the Library of Toronto was hacked into and down for a length of time. So what would be our responsibility and how would we try and ensure that that was preventable if it's preventable?
Where is that in this policy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is access to information.
Yeah, but in here it says all reasonable efforts should be made to ensure the security of records in its control and custody. And ensure that they're safe and secure disclosure.
21.6, yeah, she's down on the next page,
21.6, okay.
so somewhere in the middle of this page.
3,
Oh, that's, yeah, all reasonable efforts.
yeah.
Actually, I find the use of reasonable is quite appropriate in a lot of cases, because it gives you leeway without forcing to have to get into an impossibly long definition.
That's right, you don't.
But I
It gives
also
you
wanna
a
know,
way
how
out.
are we all protected? And how do we know that we've got security in place to try and prevent?
So I
This is
would
good.
say that it's
Right.
probably the CEO's.
It's really the IT department at the town, is that not it?
Yeah.
To a degree, I mean, there are things that we do as library staff in addition to, like, it goes beyond network security, so. And some of our policies address this, so it's even a matter of how are we collecting personal information, which I think there is a policy in here.
Yeah.
That I revised. And we are taking, so there's one thing, for instance, where we recently removed the collection of birth dates when we're registering patrons, just because the combination of both a personal name and a birth date and an address is
Too much.
risky. And the birth date, we don't really need that, because if we wanted to pull how many children or youth or adults, we can do that under membership type. We don't need to know.
Specifically.
Yeah,
It's
So-
risk management is, yeah.
yeah. So I think it's sort of fleshed out in a few different policies.
And I think, sorry, but to add to that, right, the reasonable efforts on our part is not openly sharing across information with each other or other outside entities, right? You'll learn that when you take your safety
But
training.
have you looked at what happened in Toronto, and is there something we can do to prevent that? And that partly is what kind of data you're collecting and where it's stored, but also how safe the systems are. Because a lot of places and municipalities too, because they've been hacked into, are vulnerable because they haven't maintained proper security
Mhm.
systems, to be blunt.
Our IT department is pretty,
Yeah,
they're on
so
top.
I don't think we
I
need,
don't
yeah.
think we need to digress into this. It's-
So I would say that as a board, all reasonable efforts in my mind would be the CEO telling us that they have implemented the same stuff that the town has, they're up to date, they're not like, they've done everything that they can under current knowledge. And I would take that as, okay, that's my responsibility as a board is not to know in detail what you've done, it's just to know that you've implemented something that's.
That's right. So has there been an assessment after these events to ensure that you're not in the same spot as those places were? That's really what it boils down for me.
When there is a cyber attack, we do share information with IT.
Yeah.
But I mean, the relationship too, I think is fleshed out in the MOU. They do provide our network security support. They do. So, and from a responsibility point of view, it's also kind of outlined in there too.
This policy is about access to information. Right? So we're not really getting into network security necessarily here.
But it's
This is
also,
under MFIPA.
access means what information and where you're putting it.
Well, in some of the legislation that, like the associated documents, like we're obviously not going to quote everything. Some of our policies are outlined to follow through specific legislation, but we're at least acknowledging we know our legal requirements too, and we're following them from a protection of privacy perspective.
Yeah, and you've outlined the things that you're doing to ensure that we are safe, like CEOs limiting employees' access to users' personal information. I mean, so there's a lot of, I think the answers, Chris, that you're saying are here. If it's network security, it is the town, right?
Mhm.
This is what you do with data here. I did
I think
have,
we're covered, what you're saying. In terms of the hacking, the town's responsible for everything.
I guess all I was looking for is assurance that after these other examples, have we gone back to assess our systems, whether it's the town or the library, to see if we can.
We're at risk.
Yeah.
There is actually, Chris, I just thought of something I can share too. We are in the process of replacing all of our public computers. And part of that actually has been allowing IT to have a little more control over the public computers versus relying on library staff to do that. And it really comes down to time, but also expertise.
Yeah, because you can't tell me that every librarian staff member is going to be an expert in cybersecurity isn't possible.
No,
And even town staff may not have that kind of expertise either.
the IT department through the municipality, there's a position specifically dedicated to security.
Okay.
And to our benefit, both the person in that position and the current manager of information technology have experience working directly with libraries.
Mhm.
So
We're covered.
that's been kind of an added level of,
Yep.
we're lucky in that department
Yeah,
right
you're
now.
I had a comment about, how long video footage will be maintained. I think we haven't said that. We've just said we're gonna keep it, but like.
Under security cameras.
Yeah,
To be honest, I didn't make many changes to that section because I imagine once we actually have security cameras, it would probably make sense to have a separate surveillance policy. It could still
Yeah,
be in there.
yeah, because you can't really put a policy to something you don't have, right? That's putting the cart in front of the horse.
And from memory, and I can look into this because I have had to develop a surveillance policy before. I don't think there's like a legal requirement for how long you can
no, it's
keep
just,
footage, but
if I was a community member, or if something happens. Like, are we gonna find out, oh, whoops, cause this has happened to me before, oh, whoops, we know that, we only kept it for 24 hours and you weren't, you didn't come to us soon enough and it's been copied over, so. It's sort of part and parcel, cause if
Yeah.
you're using it for security, you have to know.
it would be hard to determine right now too, because
Okay.
depending on the system you move forward with. Like if you, so say, and I don't know how the other cameras work at other municipal facilities, but say, the storage is web-based. Then it becomes,
If
how
you-
much storage do you wanna purchase?
Okay.
So it, yeah.
So we would look at that then, after we get the cameras.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also recommendations too, where what I would recommend to the board is like, we don't wanna keep things for too long because the intention of putting cameras in is not to
Create a
watch
warehouse.
people. It's just, okay, if there's an incident, we can look back and find it. But so why would you have footage for 6 months? If there was an incident, something would have been reported quickly, hopefully.
So
Okay,
that-
anything else on this one?
No,
Okay,
for me.
moving on to code of ethics.
Okay.
There was only a minor change, it looks like,
Oh,
that you
yeah.
made, and, I didn't have any comments on this one.
Okay,
didn't have any, I'm fine.
great. Next one, library and political elections.
I did have a comment. A couple times we talk about but, like, I was, like, the library supports the community and civic engagement and participation, but must comply. Why don't we just say, and it's down later too, why can't we just say and?
And complies.
Yeah, cause it makes it sound like they're in conflict with one another and like.
There's at the very front, there was one. Go back to the top.
I saw it,
Yeah,
Yeah,
right
here.
there. So and must,
and
or
then,
and complies.
I thought I saw it somewhere else too. Where else did I see it? You know, it's,
Maybe you can scan for that. Let's scan for, but,
It'll do
Not
it for the
now.
whole PDF.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
Not now. I'm not saying do it now.
okay,
Anything else under library and elections?
Oh, but especially during elections?
where's that?
Under commitment.
Yeah, there's that, so that was the other, but. But. Maybe just get rid of but, you don't need to change it, just get rid of it. Mhm.
Okay.
moving on to fundraising.
Yeah, why was, Of Blue Mountains crossed out? Wait, it's the next
Where-
one.
Up or down?
Which policy?
Or you're in fundraising. No, this is elections.
It's under general one.
We're moving on to fundraising? Here we go,
This
okay.
is fundraising, okay.
Yeah, this one. Okay, where did I hit
It
it?
goes down to general one, like the next section. Keep going. You're right there.
Yeah, why is Of Blue Mountains crossed out?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's just a typo. You're not gonna just say by the town.
Unless you define what town is up above, which I don't think you do. No.
Or I can use the acronym.
Well, you
Yeah,
can use
use
it
the
acronym, because
acronym,
under
yeah.
the legal framework, you do the town of Blue Mountains and then show the acronym in brackets, so.
Yeah, that's good.
In
Okay.
theory, you could use the acronym throughout the rest of the policy.
And then I had another comment about under donations. the
Wait,
section-
don't leave donations yet. I have a
Okay.
comment under, is it general? Okay, so. Maybe yours is the same comment, Julia.
Mine's under donations.
So under general,
Mm-hmm.
number 2. Yeah, number 2, it says, in accepting a donation request, should stipulate conditions must be reasonable and meet the board's mission. So I don't know who defines what reasonable is. Did we say what reasonable is anywhere?
Well, that's why that's the same, like reasonable is everywhere in policies now. I don't, like, if you try to define it all the time, then you tie yourselves in knots. And it gives us a bit of leeway, to be able to say, you know what, in this case, I don't think it's reasonable that Chris wants us to take her
So it's,
artwork that she's spent 6 years painting.
yeah, the way I would see that, it's like a condition, like, I'm gonna give you this money on the condition that you hold my wake here, right? Which seems reasonable, right? But, you know, I'm gonna give you this money, but I wanna have my birthday party here, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's how I interpret it. It's like that
I
gentle,
would say your first one's not reasonable because you'd have to pay for a wink or we would.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm being.
There's certain swings. for
I don't wanna
reasonable.
get into defining reasonable.
No, okay, so are we comfortable that who decides? Is it the CEO then that decides what's reasonable, or this is all within your jurisdiction, Jen?
I would say it's operational.
Okay,
But you would come to us if there was like some real high
yeah,
Yeah.
profile community member that was insisting we take their 14 pictures of a big horse, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, I think in the policy too, it states something along the lines of if it's a donation of over $10,000, it comes to the board.
yeah, that's right, that's right.
Yeah,
okay.
because we have to give receipts, right? So,
Yeah, okay, so I'm good with that, I forgot about that one.
my comment about donations was under this, the acknowledgement of donations.
Okay.
Just a sec. No, it's the donations there and it is, I didn't find it clear. Under number 1, the second sentence, museum donations are reviewed by the curator and will be returned to the donor's care or left to their disposal at the discretion of the donor. I don't know what that means.
So
Is
it's,
it after it's been used?
so it's actually, that language is in our donation form for museum items. So what it means is that, so when someone tries to donate something, there's a couple of check boxes. So it says, essentially, if we choose not to keep it, they can give us the permission to send it somewhere more appropriate or to dispose of it, I believe.
So that's fine, it's missing that piece. Museum donations are reviewed by the curator and if not accepted, will be
I
returned.
think they are left to their disposal. That confused me as well, because I don't know who the there is.
Yeah,
So are we leaving it for the donor to decide what they're going to do, which is obvious, or it's left to our museum's discretion in terms of what happens?
Our,
There-
yeah,
isn't there-
that's,
Refer to the donations?
No, I thought they referred to the library because they've given it to the
Yeah.
library and the library then has ownership of it and can decide what to.
And
I
that's
think I
not clear.
used there because I was thinking curator, but if it's not clear, it should be changed.
Yeah, to BNPL's discretion, or the,
Or the curator's discretion. Just
Okay.
replace there with the word.
yep,
Yeah, but my point is, you're not returning things if you're keeping them. You're only returning them if you haven't accepted them, right? So museum donations are reviewed by the curator, and if not accepted, will be returned. Right? You're not gonna return it if you've accepted it.
Well, did you ever receive anything
Oh,
on
I see what
loan
you're saying, yeah.
and then return it after the period of?
No, because it says once a donation, and number two, it becomes a property.
True.
So I just, yeah, I just,
It is, you're
it's
right.
not it's not a sentence.
Yeah, it's not clear.
Well, I guess where I struggle with donations is it's very different between the library and the museum, so I was trying to somehow integrate it, but there are cases at the museum where someone will donate something and it has to sit with us for a while, and then we reach back out and say, do you want this back? Or do you want us to get rid of it for you?
So yeah,
So
that
maybe
is a
it's-
temporary loan then. Or.
Maybe if you just took out the are reviewed, but because it sounds like you're saying you're giving back all the donations, every single donation. I don't think, that's not what I'm hearing you're saying. Museum donations are reviewed by the curator and will be returned. What, after use or? Like,
No, after it's been reviewed by the curator,
And then if it's not accepted, would be returned.
yes.
So if you put in, it's not accepted.
that's what
Yeah.
I was saying, they're reviewed by the
That makes
curator
sense.
and if not accepted, will be returned. Is that,
or maybe it's or left with the museum for disposal.
Okay. I think that makes sense. Donors.
And I would just delete the discretion of the donor. Because I think the disposal is gonna be at the discretion of the library,
Yeah, their discretion ended when they donated.
yeah.
yeah,
What was your suggestion, or left? To
The museum. Or
Curator.
the left to the museum to dispose of.
I like that. Okay,
But get rid of at the discretion of the, you know. Okay, we move on to the planning.
So if you, sorry, if you go to, are you on the circulation desk yet, or are you going to the next? How far down are you going?
You go, Carol.
Okay, there's just a typo,
okay,
4.3. Donors who request a tax to be provided with a cash receipt to assist the process of the official receipts through the town.
thank you.
through TBM,
It's just a thought, she had the word thought. It was-
right, but anytime we.
Oh, yeah, it
say
should be, yeah.
TBM, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there's that correction too.
Anything else in this policy?
No.
Okay, moving on to planning.
So this one doesn't talk about the Museum Advisory Council, does it? Is that in another policy?
There is no museum advisory
Yeah,
council.
there was reference in some policy, that was my question.
That's the next one.
That's the
It
next
just
one,
says
okay.
it was due in zone.
There was, I removed it from one and put a comment, and then there was a second one I didn't catch, I
Yeah.
put that in my notes.
Okay, yeah, it's under, I just saw it here. It's under contributed materials and in-kind services.
Which policy, sorry?
I think we're still on donations.
Okay. Oh, yes, number 4. Remove Mac
Yeah, okay, that was,
from
yeah, okay.
number 4 under. Okay.
Okay, can we move on to planning? Okay,
I had a comment, this is not. Not yet.
I had a comment too.
I had one under 53.2.
Yeah, that's why I had a comment. As well. What was yours, Julie?
The word ultimate planning documents, and I thought that was kind of an odd statement, but I don't know where
Oh, that
it
is,
was.
It's number 2 underneath the board authority of the, yeah, board.
Oh, yeah, there it is, right there, number 2. Yeah, what, like, that just sounds weird. You mean, I think what you're saying is the, or what it says is. Our planning documents are only those, right?
You know what, I wonder if we need this.
One
at all.
overreaching?
Well, can I say, I think a lot of this was put in place because there's a time when we were trying to get the museum operating grant. And there are certain requirements there that gave roles to the curator, gave roles to a governance body, which had to be exclusively for the museum, which was the Museum Advisory Committee. And then that would all, so that was saying, okay, the board does this, the CEO does this, the curator does, or the MAC does that, but the ultimate documents are these. I don't think we need this at all now.
What, we don't need board authority or number 2?
We don't need board authority. Some of this was structured because of meeting requirements for a grant that we don't qualify for. But the ministry.
I'd be fine if we left it with the board shall approve all governance planning documents and the CEO shall approve all.
I like that, I like
And
1.
then just take the rest of it out. Like, is 1.3 confused me?
Yeah, 1.3, I think was just wrong.
And 2 then.
That would approve it anyway.
well, now that I'm rereading it,
Yeah,
all of the planning official planning documents for the library includes the museum and it's approved by the library board.
Yeah,
that's why I wonder if we
So-
need that section at all.
I think you could just take 1.3 right out.
Yeah.
Or do we even need this whole policy?
Oh, I think you need. the
I
policy.
like it. I think
yeah, you
it's-
need a planning policy, I think, but, and can we get rid of number 2 then too?
Well, yeah, I think you should just get rid of 1.3 and 2.
Okay.
Yeah, cause then 2 is just redundant, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, I understand now.
so 1.3, that's good.
Board authority, just need to write a quick note here, remove
and then I had a comment,
3 and 2.
one more comment under board planning right there. 1.1, what is the character of the community? Like, how,
Undefinable,
Yeah.
very broad and ranging, unless
I
please
would
not,
just say the
please, let's
needs of-
not open that box. Let's leave that, let's keep Pandora's box closed.
the needs of the community as part of its our regular,
The-
The needs will be reflected by its character.
It's it's
Yeah.
ever changing.
Yeah, delete the character,
yeah,
character, and just get rid of. close to
Well, the
needs.
needs, we do needs assessments, right?
Yeah.
So the needs, yeah.
but not the character.
Yeah, delete the character.
You live that every day, huh?
I remember through the elections, it came up again and again and again,
Oh,
the
really?
character of the community, the
Really?
particular street.
It's like the character of Clarksburg. Well, okay, there's brick buildings, there's porta bath buildings, there's composite buildings.
Neglected character.
There's block buildings.
Oh,
there's
you mean
decorative
buildings?
blocks, yeah, just the
Oh, I
character.
think you meant character of the people.
No, the character.
Okay, let's close that one.
Okay, let's move
Yeah.
on,
Okay, we
okay.
closed it,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I have a question on the board planning, a general question, because if we have to do something at the end of term, do we include that in our action plan? Have we got that in our action plan?
It'll be in our year 3 action plan, it'll be strat planning.
Okay, so we don't need to do anything with that current. Oh, no, because this is a 2024 action plan, yes, okay.
And she's got that nice piece of paper that you've written.
Oh, exactly, yeah, in great detail, yeah.
The notes on it.
Okay, I just, yeah, good, okay.
Okay. Anything else under planning?
No,
Okay. Special occasion alcohol use.
I'll just note that I did bring any insurance questions I had to, I don't remember Serena's official title, but the person at the town that is responsible for that. And we've been comparing policies because they're in the process of updating their policy as well.
Okay,
So there's one recommendation at the bottom to increase, I think the insurance from 2 million to 5.
Yeah,
And that was at the municipality did recommend that and indicated that would be in their new policy that still has to go to, I guess, council for
Yeah, so it's manager of purchasing.
manager purchasing.
okay, anything under this policy? No? Values statement. Now, this was actually quite a process in developing it, as part of the strat planning process.
so I don't like the value statement, I think we should use about one.
what did you say?
Said I don't like the value statement, we should do a new one, no, I'm kidding, because I know how much work went into doing.
Scrap it. Yeah.
I didn't really touch this. And I think same with the mission, I believe, because I figured that that would be revised or
At the time,
at the
at
time.
the
we
time
would
of
do that.
planning, yeah.
Yeah, I had no issues with that one.
Can I just say, I thought that second sentence in one was totally redundant, it just basically repeats the first sentence. Statement of values articulates our shared beliefs by which we operate. And this policy ensures that we articulate and review our values.
It can certainly be deleted, yeah.
Yeah, I would just delete that. I also wondered, but I don't think we need to get into it today, but why wouldn't we just have one policy, values, mission? You know, anyway,
So if we take number 2 out, have you missed the day-to-day operations?
No, it's not number 2. She's taking out the second sentence of number 1.
Oh, okay. Right, okay. Agreed,
Yeah, there's no need to explain it.
right,
yeah.
That's a good point.
Anything else under values?
And maybe when it got rid of, somebody wrote that there to explain what it meant.
Mhm.
Did notice there's a couple of places, and values is another one, where we have a bit of an ambiguous review cycle. Very last thing, review, yeah. So according to the board's policy, review is part of the planning cycle. So I guess it's fine. It's just like, to me, it was something that would happen every 4 years.
Unless at some point there was a
Big
3
change,
year
yeah,
or
okay,
5 year.
never mind. Just ignore me, it's fine. Indigenous acknowledgement, which is something I read at the beginning of each meeting, but this goes much more into depth.
We bring CPS off of understand,
Say that again?
CPS off of understands in number 1, the board and employees understand, I mean,
Singular.
third person, singular person. Yeah,
So we'll see who finds the most technical.
Or you could just strike most of it, right? And just say, just jump right to recognize the needs, the board employees, recognize and embrace the principles, right? If you want to just get rid of the redundancy,
Yeah.
that we understand that we need to we either recognize it or we, like, I would just say, strike out, understands the need to. just
yeah, we recognize and
just
embrace.
recognize and
Yeah,
embrace.
yeah.
Good,
That's my.
oh, good idea. Anybody else on this policy?
Lightning over, it only strikes once.
And with this particular policy, I just really, fleshed out the collection section, making sure that we're actually citing the relevant TRC recommendations.
Mhm.
That's good.
There has been some chatter specifically with our museum staff about how we could revise our Indigenous acknowledgement statement, but I think that's something we could revisit, maybe even through strategic planning or,
Oh, they have some suggestions, I mean, before, I mean, it's a pretty bare bones version.
there's a lot of different ways. I felt uncomfortable revising it because I'm not Indigenous and I know that it was written by somebody who was.
It was written by Sabrina.
Yeah,
It depends on what region you're into, right?
Well, we're in ceded treaty property here.
No, I know, but there's different acknowledgements for the different regions, right?
there's also different approaches, like there's also some Indigenous communities that don't agree with land acknowledgement statements, but I've done training where it was recommended that you have your generic statement and then that statement would be modified pending the context of each event, so yeah, there's just a lot of different ways that,
Yeah, that can be, you need some deeper insight on
yeah.
that, yeah,
I think being general, kind of,
yeah.
it touches enough areas that covers us.
Fewer words, the less transitive than.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, true enough.
Those are the big ones, right, saying enough, but not too much. People's using apostrophe, yes. The knowledge that belongs to the people.
We done with this policy? Okay, so next one is intellectual freedom.
Yes, is this, just as context, is this the policy that protects us from any attempts at restricting what we do, like if we were to do drag queen story time or this is it.
Yes,
Is there nothing new from the OLA?
no,
So they haven't updated anything since
not their
2020?
statement. Nope.
Okay,
We could cite, like, the Canadian Federation of Library Associations also has a statement.
do we need to?
They're pretty similar.
I'd say they're pretty similar, I mean, unless they've updated theirs maybe.
Not in a while, I don't believe, but the concept of protection is yes and no. I mean, it does specify,
This is what we would fall back on.
yes, yes.
Yes, and there's nothing new out there since all of this has been an media issue.
No,
Okay,
And it's also about censorship too, right? Like if we want to provide a book about a family with two moms, then we can do it.
yeah, but you might also, the opposite too, right? Like you said, sometimes you have stuff. You bring in stuff that maybe you don't necessarily agree with, right? Like a
well,
religious book or.
and there's multiple policies, so when it comes to, if we choose not to purchase something, we need to reference a couple of policies. I have a title actually right now that might not go into the collection. And the policies we're looking at specifically for this title is our Indigenous policy, our commitment to intellectual freedom, but also what in our collections policy states when we can say no. And it very much mimics the intellectual freedom policy, but sometimes pending the content, you have to pull in other policies too. So like right now, we have a title that borderline conflicts with this intellectual freedom policy, but absolutely conflicts with our Indigenous policy. So it's,
A title of a book,
yes.
like it would be offensive?
there could be harm, yes, but also, it's misinformation and also denying the severity of residential schools.
And somebody requested it?
Yes,
Yeah. So just to be clear, we don't need to tighten this up in any way. You're feeling covered.
yes.
Okay.
There's also a reporting structure too, should you choose to. And it's not censoring, should you choose not to include a title in your collection, you can report that to, I think it's in here, I think it's the Canadian Federation of Library Associations, they have like a reporting form.
And what you're solid in is if it conflicts with our policies, so.
Yeah.
you know, It is what it is.
Okay.
So if you did that form and then the Canadian Libraries doesn't agree, or is it just an informational thing?
Just information, and it's the same with if,
Because they can't help.
anytime a title's challenged, you can report, they're encouraging libraries to report it just for statistical purposes.
Okay, but it's not an appeal or it's not a review.
No.
It's not.
But the
Um,
person could appeal.
Yes, so in our policy, should the CEO decline to add a collection to our add a title to our collection, there is the opportunity for that person to appeal the decision to the library board, but then the library board has the ultimate say.
So in terms of protecting ourselves and yourself, you're using the Ontario Public Library Guidelines as your framework. Should we also reference the Canadian one? Like, is that needed or is that just, unnecessary?
They're very similar,
Okay.
we could add it under,
I'm surprised the OLA hasn't updated anything. Is that because it was so perfect in 2020? No, really, I don't mean that sounds.
Maybe they have
Or
the
they
same,
haven't had a chance
they have
to.
the same updating policies we do, they do it every 4 years or whatever, right, depending on, well,
yeah, like their committees are mostly volunteers.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm confident though, like I mentioned, that right now, I'm referencing our policies because of an intellectual freedom issue. In addition to a few other things, but this is also consistent with public libraries across the board, like there's nothing missing from our policy
okay.
that I could identify.
Anything else under this policy?
No,
Moving on to finance.
Where did they- Oh, yeah, okay.
I didn't have any issues.
yeah, me neither.
Okay, anybody? Okay, mission and mandate and vision, we kind of touched on, those are part of the planning.
I did,
Strat planning process.
Can you just scroll down a little bit?
Mhm.
I wasn't sure about the need to have the whole history of the Glam in a policy.
Mhm.
Like, it's like we were an early trailblazer. We won awards, like, is that,
just sort of stamps it in time, that's all, right?
I mean, I'm okay, it didn't seem very policy-like, it seemed like more like a background
Yeah,
paper, but if it's helpful, I'm fine.
I would say just leave it for now, and we can
Okay.
decide whether we think we need it next time around.
Okay,
It is a backgrounder, which might be helpful for you.
Mhm.
okay,
Justify the,
Or you can move it in like a terms of reference or something like that, or historical, reference, I don't know,
okay,
because that's what it is, it's just explains the history.
Mhm.
I agree though, that it maybe doesn't exactly need to be there, but it could be it'd just be
nice.
the
thing.
shell game, it would just
Yes,
be, it's a
yeah,
nice thing. For the day that there's a board that has no idea where the claim came from or how it got started or anything like that.
Yeah.
okay, I had nothing else on this one.
Same with vision,
I didn't have anything on vision.
that was a big process too. Okay, and the last one, idea.
I have no issues.
Anybody?
This one's new too, it was just created last year, and it was a requirement as well for our accreditation.
Okay, can I have a motion to?
Maybe we need the word committed to,
Where?
at the very,
Oh, yeah, there's a two missing. The very first,
very first sentence.
under scope.
To, right,
Thank you.
Can I have a mover and seconder that we approve the policies? Carol and Marie. All in favor? Great, that is carried. Thank you. Okay, then we move on to our human resources. Does anyone need a break for a minute? You all go, good to keep going? Okay. So,
right there.
I guess one of the questions I have basically before we start is, these are clearly not all of the HR policies, or I say HR, HNS. So you only brought forward the ones that you were proposing to amend.
This could have even been my misinterpretation of the multi-year agenda, but because it said, the health and safety, the annual health and safety and AODA policies, I brought all of the policies that were brought to the Health and Safety Committee at the beginning of the year to review.
It's my understanding that it has to be all the HNS and AOA policy because of legislation requires board review of all policies annually.
so there's a number of policies under the Occupational Health and Safety Act that have to be reviewed annually,
Right,
and I wondered if they were all included in here.
Are those the ones that are only required by legislation to be annually approved?
I would have to double check. I know for a fact this one, yes.
Working alone has to, that's another one, if I remember correctly.
Maybe we'll just table these until we have the answers, and then if it's gonna be
Yeah, there
broad
was
scope.
a whole bunch under violence and harassment, sexual harassment, I think we got them all in there.
If it, so it ends at 49, like the last digits, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, then jumps to 73, does that mean there are that many in between?
Not necessarily, because there are though there would be other admin policies.
So
So
there's the
that
admin part
number
of
might have
it.
Yeah,
swapped through different policy collection.
Awesome.
But
But under
they're
your
all,
sexual workplaces, you have the sexual harassment, you have the workplace harassment, so you don't have. And I don't know legislatively if you needed to have separate policies,
but we do have separate policies for those too.
and why are they included under respective workplaces?
Yeah, and that's part of the reasons why not seeing all the policies confused
Well,
me a bit.
workplace violence, harassment and discrimination, it's all one policy. We just call it respectful workplaces.
And yet,
I thought
Sorry.
they had to be separate policies.
I pulled these off of the intern.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think. they are.
Uniform, the towns is all in one.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah, and Grey Highlands was all in one.
It's like an umbrella with a bunch of.
Cause
Yeah,
you've covered them in the respectful workplace.
yeah,
What wait, sorry?
And yet we have a workplace violence and sexual violence program, which is a policy,
That's different, the program and policy are two different things
Yeah.
legislatively.
but we have them under our policies, even though we call it a program in this case. So that was part of my,
Is this a policy or a plan?
well, okay, so maybe we need to, back to Sean's suggestions, maybe we can put this forward to our next meeting. I mean, maybe we do the new policies if you want, but this particular section, because I think there's a bit of a mishmash of stuff. When you go onto our website and you look for policies, you see an awful lot of stuff, most of which isn't here. So if we need to do some of these now, we can, but there's a whole bunch of other things that I think are
So why don't we? do
confusing to
these
me at the
ones?
very least.
And then, takeaway action item would be to look at if there's other policies that need to be reviewed. Because we've all reviewed those, so I don't wanna waste our
Good
effort
point.
on reviewing those.
Okay,
There is a T missing. Under patron complaints.
Oh, well, that's just my report.
Yeah, okay.
And there is some complaining, right?
Well, and this does also just, so you know, that touches back on the complaint that we were dealing with earlier, is trying to find a relevant policy to follow. And I was working with what turns out to be programs, not policy, because I didn't.
So are we gonna go through each of those policies then? Okay.
So let's start out with the commitment to health and safety.
So I didn't have any issues with this one, except the ones that need to be reviewed annually, but we'll already touched on that.
And that point that you added on page 63, yeah, there. That is that directly, you updated that based upon our incidents that, yeah.
Do you reference when you call the police for 911?
It would be, in our incident reports.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah.
So moving on to fire safety.
Pretty good timings. This is safety and awareness week.
So my question on this one is just, is not a, it's just an information, so where are the safe rooms?
In the library?
Yeah,
Like a designated safe room would be probably, I think it's my office.
okay.
I don't actually know off the top of my head.
Wait, what's a safe
Are you
room?
talking about in case a lockdown or something, or a tornado drill?
So under fire, fire and emergency preparation, there's reference to safe rooms. So I just wondered where those safe rooms are, I forget where it's referenced in there.
Oh, yeah, it's where you can wait for
Under 2, this plan will include safe rooms where
Yeah.
people can wait during a fire evacuation or assistance by first responders. Or rooms that should be locked down in the event.
There
of
was
a
the second
violent
part lockdown in the
altercation.
event of a violent. So where are those safe rooms?
So just find out.
Yeah, I'll have to, I'm not confident in my answer.
Yeah, so this is more operationalization, I can't say that word. This policy,
Operationalization.
thank you, that's the word.
There's a you missed in there.
The reason I suggested my office is because you can lock the door on the inside, where I wouldn't say that the staff room would be a safe room, because you can still access it from the other
But in
side.
a safe room, though, you also have to know that it's safe to leave it, right? So you have to have communications already. So you all run into the safe room because it's a violent incident, and when the violent incident ends, how do the people in the safe room know?
The
Like,
safe room
this-
talks about fire,
as well as violence?
evacuation.
Yeah, well, there's that too.
Fire evacuation, you get out of the building usually though.
I'm not going in your office if there's a fire, we'll just cook.
So I think there's a difference if it's a violent occasion, so this one's a bit of rework, I think.
Or are they talking about if there's a fire in the neighborhood, that neighbors can come in and have a safe haven for?
No, this would be.
This could just go into a burning building.
This would be for staff protection.
Yes, this is talking about the building.
And then the
Okay,
emergency
say that.
evacuation plans, my, this sort of thing was where they posted and are they accessible, and but.
The fire, or sorry. The fire one, I wonder if that has to do with people that can't get out of the building, like I know if you're using a mobility device and staff can't get you out of the building, you have to leave someone somewhere for the fire department to come in and get them. Typically, it's like a stairwell if it's on like a second floor, but again, I would have to look into this, I'm not confident in my answer. It would be in our plan, we do have a plan.
Like, I'm okay with the policy, and it's just
Yeah.
more. The operationalization of it, oh my god, that's a tough word.
any other input on this policy?
But that's what the muster station is for, right?
When you can get outside, yes.
Yeah, when you can get it, but if you have to leave somebody behind, it needs to be a designated place that the emergency services know where to go.
I think wouldn't the washroom be better than your office?
It'll be whatever the plan says.
Yeah, whatever the plan says.
Yeah,
And she doesn't know the answer off the top.
So do we have a plan?
yes.
It is a
Okay.
plan.
So we
Moving
should
on
push
to-
that one till next time or
No, I think
just,
the policy is fine.
No, the
It's just-
policy is
yeah, it's
fine.
Operational questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Just for our own protection too.
Mhm.
while we're here.
Yeah, where's the safe room? Might be in it. Anything under the work alone policy?
well, I thought we didn't have anybody working alone anymore.
We try not to.
Okay,
We have systems in place if they do, like it's mostly museum, sorry.
You can.
The museum is where that mostly happens.
Yeah.
We're used to anyways.
There may be the odd situation too, if someone were to go home sick and if it's a manager and there's like an hour left.
Yeah.
To keep the library open, like, yeah,
okay, so we need this policy
Oh,
to
yeah.
cover us.
We're required to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's legislative.
Okay.
Anybody with changes on this one or questions? Okay,
Do you have like a emergency button, like if somebody, you know,
Yes,
yeah, we do.
yeah, because the working alone policy, it varies from field to field too, right? Like when I worked in the oil patch, I had to, if I was alone on location, I had to call my supervisor every hour. Yeah,
Wow.
so if something had happened
Mhm.
and I didn't call, then they would send out.
You'd only been dead for 55 minutes.
They would at least know if something's gone catastrophically wrong. Or same with traveling, same, there's a whole bunch, but it depends on how tight you wanna get in.
Yeah, which actually made me think of another example of when staff work alone, sometimes we'll have, if we're doing an outreach activity. So for example, when we were doing the consultation for the strat plan, there were times where Mary was working alone. To solicit feedback from the community, but like, you know, she had her phone, we knew she was, yeah,
Same with traveling too,
Yes.
right? You're supposed to travel safety plan as well. I don't know if we have a travel safety plan, but. We did, because whenever we would leave the location, go to the airport, we had to report that we made it to the airport,
Hmm.
right? Just,
well, I think you have to think about violence, because there's more and more of that happening everywhere. And
Yeah.
I don't mean just fire, some lunatic coming in.
anything under this policy then?
Is it still the working alone one?
It is.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, respectful workplaces.
At least when I had some comments on.
Okay.
So what I thought was interesting is if you go down to the workplace harassment. It starts with the board recognizes the definition of harassment is set out in UMass, but all the other ones sort of say so if you go to workplace discrimination, it doesn't say the board, it's got the library. So my question was, why is it the board in that incident and not in any other? So you go up to workplace discrimination. Which is before the harassment one. There.
So BNPL here, so where does it say the board?
Down below, it's the only one that says the board recognizes
Under
the definition.
harassment, yeah.
I just wondered why it was the board there and in every other case it's the,
BNPL.
yeah,
So it should be
I think it was just an
BNPL.
oversight.
I think it should be it
Yeah.
shouldn't be the board there.
Pardon me?
I don't think it should be the board. there.
No,
It should
you're
be
right.
Yeah.
BNPL.
I knew there was something else in here. too. Oh, under. That then, is it under harassment? Yes, under harassment. Yeah, number 7. Although it is common for the harasses,
Oh, yeah, I looked at that too.
is it the harasser?
Where are we, number
Number
7?
7,
Oh,
Yep,
okay. Yeah, we got all those.
Else, committee
Okay,
relations
so
policy.
then there's CEO responsibilities, I do sexual harassment still. Is that was.
You could call it implementation, that one? The next section afterward.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Every year, the CEO will require all employees to attend a refresher training course on the content of this policy, so. I wondered what the status of that was, or do you report back and tell us?
What the refresher
Yeah,
training course is, well, as soon as this is amended or just approved by the board, it would just go back out to staff. They would review it. There's also refresher courses through HR downloads that get scheduled as well.
okay, good.
Yeah.
And then did we wanna, is that included in our action plan for the CEO responsibility? Or would we include it in the action plan? I'm just thinking with the whole incident that happened here and awareness of.
There is two reports come to the board.
Right.
Yeah, one is called workplaces compliance report, respectful workplaces compliance report, and there's a risk assessment report.
Okay, so that would be included in there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know,
In
I
your-
got four.
And then.
You may wanna-
Whatever happens if you lose those pieces of paper?
Yeah, or the history you've got in your head. Okay, that was all
Okay, respectful workplaces, are we done with that one? Okay, the next one is AODA. Anybody have comments or questions around that one?
This is impressive, if you're getting them through Carol.
Okay, the next one is patron complaint. So I think it probably has a T in it. There
I had
it
a
goes. Yeah.
question here.
Mhm.
I don't know what it was, maybe it's more general question, so do you do general training on how to deal with difficult people? Okay,
Not necessarily annually, but if there's opportunities offered through, like, we get updates about various training courses, then we'll see who's interested. Staff all have been trained.
okay, because
Yes,
I mean, when I was working, we implemented one and it was wonderful and really helped. It gives the staff confidence on how to deal with difficult people.
it's definitely a part of our onboarding process too.
Okay. And it's not, there's nothing in here about training. Is there? I can't remember. It's more how you deal with the complaint.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my question. Oh, here, under privacy two, what is that? Oh, privacy two, oh, right. There it is, the privacy. And he supports and encourages professional development for all staff.
Oh, you are? Okay, yeah.
In response action to complaint involvement taken. So this was more focused on the staff having to do training because of a result of complaint against the staff. And any responsive actions to complaint which involves taking action to improve staff members' performance with respect. So I wondered if you wanted to put something in there generally around training staff before they get to that point on how to deal with difficult people in difficult situations. But that's more reactive. The other one's more proactive.
Would it be in the health and safety action plans?
No, I don't think so. Mm,
You can think about that.
okay. Unless. Whether.
So if you put a general comment in there to say that, general training would be provided or something, does that put you into a situation that you wouldn't be able to deliver on that? Or if you're already doing that, why would you not put it in the policy? The staff are reading this policy and show support to staff.
My only question is, it does exist someplace else already?
But this is specifically for dealing with patron complaints, so I think there should be some mentioning here of staff. Only because you do it from the proactive, the reactive perspective. Saying if there's a complaint against staff and it was a legitimate complaint, we'll send staff on training, which is good. But then to show overall support for staff, would you not put something in there that there would be general training on how to deal with difficult situations? Which again is your more proactive piece.
The reactive piece is better if you can analyze the situation and look at what the root causes were related to that.
Well, the reactive piece needs to be in there, definitely. But would you not want to show support to staff, especially?
But preparing them for it is, yeah, it's part of your job.
I just have a memory of it being someplace, but I don't think it's here. It may be in different policy.
I just wanted to look at the scope again too.
Oh, that's good.
Can we be that you would, add an appropriate spot, that a reference to the handling difficult patrons training?
So if you look at your purpose number 1, the policy is designated to enable library staff to promptly and effectively address program and service delivery complaints. So training would be something that would hit the effectively address.
Okay.
So I would say it's within the scope.
Okay.
So I don't know if it would go under privacy because that's a different thing, but.
Yeah, okay.
So can I ask how you evaluate incidents? So we've spent a lot of time talking about patron complaints, but there's other types of incidents too. So do you have a framework in which to do the assessment of? And
Like whether or not something qualifies as an incident?
no, more in terms of what circumstances were, what led to that incident. Because we tend to pick on people, but a lot of it is system problems.
Explain that.
Well, when we create a procedure, theoretically, we should be supporting people so it leads them to handle it safely and appropriately. But lots of times, we've done it based around the humans, but not in terms of, like the computer software, for example, has it led them to the right conclusion or right actions? So when you're looking at incidents, you should be looking at all those other factors. What was going on in the room at the same time? If it was a slippery floor, you know, like what's the cleaning schedule? And so who's traveling at that time? So there's a whole bunch of other factors that played into that incident, which if you're not looking for it, you're not gonna see it,
It's kind of built into our incident reporting form.
okay?
Yeah, it is. Like there's the specific questions that it encourages you to ask yourself. Pending on what happened, how can you prevent it from happening again? There are questions that encourage you to think about those things.
Yeah, like, am I having
And
a bad
report
day?
on.
Did my dog die? Like, is this affecting me? Yeah, I get what you mean.
Or we had one recently where someone was cleaning the popcorn machine and cut their finger. So then part of the follow-up on the incident report would be thinking about all of the ways we can prevent that from happening
What are your
again.
safeguards to prevent that in place? So
Yeah.
maybe it's looking at the machinery, like it wasn't
Yes,
set up properly or
Yeah.
something.
It's a hazard assessment.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's trying to move away from the person, because often we'll say it's their fault because they goofed or because they haven't been trained. Training isn't always the solution.
No.
So, that's all I'm asking, like, when
Yeah.
you're looking at, because you've got all kinds of potential of incidents. And we focus a lot on the complaint because that was our recent one, but But
Yeah.
more beyond that, you know.
But if you go to the health and safety policy, so this policy is specific for patron complaints.
No,
But
it's not. Cause it says some cases you may injure yourself, so it's moving beyond.
where does it say that? Maybe that should be
Incident reports for injuries,
patron complaints and incidents.
yeah,
So
so,
maybe that shouldn't, well,
so it's looking down the bottom. And I think incident reporting is a policy on its own, and so there's different types of incidents, but. But anyways, all I'm asking is that if you've got a framework, I use that word, but you can call it checklist, or whatever, so it guides people to think beyond the person made a mistake.
I would say that the questions on our incident reporting form prompt us to think of those things.
Okay.
okay. I thought where you might put something in about training could be under handling inappropriate behavior.
Can I see that incident report at some point?
The popcorn machine?
No, I don't mean the actual incident.
Oh, the form.
The form.
If you want.
Just out of curiosity.
Sure.
It's because she's a pharmacist. She probably
No, it's
spent her
because I
life.
did a lot of incident
Yeah.
reporting and workshops
Safety.
on it and did a lot of what they call human factors training. So there's a whole university degree on that,
Okay.
so.
So we're gonna add a piece about training someplace. I don't think we need to decide that today. Maybe that's to get it.
Well, this section, I think it does make sense to go under this.
Staff will be adequately, or will be trained to handle inappropriate behavior, that's all you need to put in there, something like that.
Okay.
And if you're already doing it, then it shouldn't be an issue, but then if staff read it, they'll see that there's a bit more of a proactive direction.
Okay. Anything else on this policy? Next one, fit for work. Fit for duty.
I'm used to the terminology fit for duty and it mimics the legislation. I understand the fit for work. Makes sense too. I was just thinking.
So my comment on that was sometimes you have fit for work and fit for duty, so we should land on one and be consistent.
Yeah, that's what I say. Choose one.
Is there a preference?
I'm looking at Carol.
It doesn't
I would
matter.
say fit for work because Occupation Health and Safety Act is all work.
And what?
I think it says fit for duty
Does
though.
it?
I'm almost positive it does. I can go back and double check and just say in the comments that we're just consistent with the legislation.
Yeah,
Yeah, so whatever the legislation is saying, I would say
Okay.
it's for work.
This is.
And I also had a suggested change under addiction.
I'm just making a note for myself.
So. Where you say, whoops, this past it.
Oh, sorry.
Where you say the VMPL recognized addiction to illicit drugs is a serious health problem, I would say issue. I would get rid of the word problem, and just say issue.
Anybody else on this policy or anything else?
Oh, yeah, okay, let me just read, under the duties report, I had a question about that.
Okay.
All right, okay, so you have employees have a duty to report any use of substance So I just thought you could clarify, are they reporting to their manager? Who is the duty to report? You do talk later about privacy, but just here, if you could say who the duty to report is.
And it would be their manager.
That is a tricky one to deal with, because if you have an employee in that category and you're trying to help them, but the other staff are now complaining.
It's reality as a
But for I
workforce,
just
right?
think, yeah. Been there, done
Welcome to being a manager.
that.
Anything else under this policy?
No.
Okay. So I guess I then need a motion, mover and seconder to approve these policies. John? Julia, thank you. All in favor? Carried. We have 2 more policies to do. Frivolous, vexatious, and unreasonable complaints policy.
This policy essentially mimics the municipalities, with a few wording changes, just in terms of our sort of like reporting structure from a governance standpoint.
I found some typos.
I have a question under section 5. Responsibilities. And number 4. And I'm a bit puzzled by library board members will consult the CEO and the ministry. So is this about board members complaining about other board members? Or is this about the board? Let's say the board shall consult with the CEO and possibly the ministry regarding cases of unreasonable behavior section. So just not sure who the members. It's reference to members, reference to board members. Are we talking about the board or are we talking about individuals?
We're talking about each other.
Yeah, we could probably remove members.
Yeah,
That was probably just an oversight too, because the municipality's policy, I think, specifies members of council.
yeah.
So as soon as you said the council, this is based on, yeah, I kind of thought this is,
Yeah.
so we're getting rid of the words library board. So who is the member wishing to address something? Is this then that the board wishes to address?
No, I think it means member to member, like if, well, that's my interpretation, I think that's from our code of conduct, right?
Mhm.
So as a member, so if I feel like you're harassing me, then like if I feel undue as a member of this board, member to member, then then I report it to you.
No, you would probably report it to her.
No. As a member to member, I will report it to
CEO.
Jennifer.
The board,
If I
Yeah.
have, she's the chair,
If
cause
you
I
have a
can't,
problem, if you have a problem with me, you talk to the CEO. If you have a
Yeah.
problem with somebody else,
yeah. That's.
you
and
should
that's
talk to
not-
me, you should talk to the chair.
Yeah, and so, but, so that's where too, so this, yeah. So because the terminology is from the council. So if you were the mayor is the CEO of council. So I think that's where it might be, we probably just need to reword this a little bit.
Mhm.
Cause it's not her, it's not Jennifer, it's, yeah.
What's the ministry going to do?
yeah.
Diddly squat.
Well, I was gonna say the ministry shall provide, that's a pretty strong statement on behalf of the ministry.
It's their responsibility. Whether or not they get to it in a timely manner is another question,
To
but
the library.
It is their response, it does fall under their.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, they're responsible for what?
the ministry to handle, complaints against the library board.
Even,
Because the board falls under their legislation.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
but this,
where-
that would be complaints. I mean, complaints within a library board, the ministry's gonna handle it? That's what this
No, I
says.
think I can change it if it's. I'm pretty sure our bylaws reference if there's a complaint internally against another board member and then it. But like
Yeah.
if there was an issue with the library board, council has no authority.
Right.
Like they can't
Yeah.
dissolve the library board,
That's
they
right,
can't.
That's right, you're right, it would be the ministry.
Yeah, with no overreach,
Yeah.
for good reason.
Okay, so let me just. Yeah. Oh, then now that I'm rereading it in the context of this section too. What comes out the CEO? Hmm.
So is it the library, so. If I had a complaint against, say Julia for some reason, would I contact the ministry? Cause it sounds like,
No, you'd contact Lori.
Mhm.
We just haven't specified that. in-
yeah, it's not there.
Yeah,
So it
Because,
should,
as I say, the,
There should
The
only be
library board
reference-
members will consult with the CEO.
Yeah.
And the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, so I would think if I had an issue with Julia, I would go to Lord first and say, you know.
the chair first, yeah.
And then if it was against the chair, then it would go to the CEO. But would the CEO contact the Ministry of Tourism or would the board members contact the Ministry?
it
of
sounds like they would be like a last resort, right? Like,
Mhm.
if we were unable to resolve our problems,
Yeah, you go up the food chain one step at a time.
because that would be a very dangerous thing to do.
Mhm.
Be the
But that's
nuclear
not the way
option.
it
Hate
looks.
each other.
It'd be the
Yeah.
nuclear option for sure.
I guess I could reference our bylaws too in this
yeah,
part.
absolutely, I was gonna say, what do the bylaws say?
Yeah, that's the terminology from councils, right? Because the
Yeah.
CEO is the mayor, right?
I think we need a bit more work on this.
So is
Yeah.
the
On this
municipal
section.
act involved in the council?
In the code of conduct, no, the municipal act is not referenced in the code of conduct for the
Okay.
council.
So as a board,
Mhm.
what we would like reflected in that is that if it was a complaint against another board member, they go to the CEO or they go to the chair. The chair would try and resolve it. If the chair couldn't resolve it, the chair would go to the CEO. Not if it was, let's say, Julia and I having the issue, I would not run to the CEO because I don't like what you said.
No,
And I think where I was going with this too is if. Where does an appeal go beyond the board? Well, the next level would be the ministry.
But who contacts the ministry then?
I would think it would be the
I
CEO.
would think it's the CEO too,
Yeah.
yes, because when you say library board members will consult with the CEO. And the CEO will, if necessary, contact the Ministry of Tourism.
I mean, if it couldn't be resolved between two people or between, like, then you're getting to a point where the board needs to be dissolved or
The board is
something, right?
dysfunctional.
Yeah.
yeah, or even.
And the
Yeah,
ministry
you're
only has the
chair.
authority to do that. Council can't.
Well, council appoints the board members at each term, or should it be the lack of a member and so on and so forth? I don't know, that gets a little deeper than what we need to get in.
They definitely don't have the authority to dissolve the library board.
No,
They illegally did that in Collingwood like 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yes. Do you remember that?
That's why I'm looking askance at this whole statement going, I don't think so.
Well, I-
Once.
While we're on this topic too, like some of our policies reference the integrity commissioner. Who also doesn't technically have any role. Except if. Like if our library board chose to adopt the municipality's code of conduct for all of their boards and committees, which we didn't do, ours is similar, but it's not the exact same. Then if we formalized that with the municipality and they told us we had access to their integrity commissioner, we could use the integrity commissioner. But there's no
I think that's in our MOU, that you can use the integrity commissioner at our expense.
That was my next question. I was waiting for Sam to answer. I had asked the municipality who pays for it.
It would.
Okay,
Cause it's not a normal function of their support for us. It would be an unusual situation, and if it causes an expense, it would be at our expense.
okay.
I think it's in our MOU. I'm sure trying to remember where some of the stuff is.
I know sometimes, yeah, okay.
I guess I'm not, and so I'm trying to figure out what problem we're trying to solve here, that we might be going to the ministry, and in which case, who goes to the ministry? Because normally if there's an issue within the board, then it's the chair's job to try and sort that out.
Mhm.
And if the issue is with the chair, then I would suggest it was the board's job to sort it out. You know, in other words, you'd want to, any two members, whatever the bylaws say, can call a meeting and say, hey, Roy's really screwing up here. And we need to solve this problem. And you could, I don't know, probably call for an election early, or ask him to step down, or whatever it might be. And then, I mean, is there another problem that we need to address?
And this is all under the frivolous vexatious category too, so it doesn't. Like, that would be more,
It's more functional governance, full governance.
Yeah.
It belongs in the bylaws.
yeah,
I think it probably is there, I just,
so why would we repeat it here? Like, this would be frivolous vexatious is. If maybe I kept, you know, one of us kept picking on like each other or something, but to me. It's more an issue with the patrons, right? That, like, you get these repeat people that are,
Well, it's just, yeah, it's.
But this is
it
a
underlines the, yeah,
Yeah, so the policy is addressing any type of, and almost all types of circumstances that would happen.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would happen in this board. But if you got into a situation, what do you do? And then you go to the policy, and then you're treating it fairly each time.
yeah, because if it's not there, there's nothing to reference.
Yeah,
And, yeah,
so I would say that in number 4, we'd be comfortable with the CEO being the only one that goes to the ministry. Would we agree with that, or would the chair go to the ministry?
you have to kind of subsection it, right?
Yeah,
If in the event of,
yeah, I would say generally would be the chair. But, you know, wouldn't have any trouble with the CEO.
but it wouldn't be the,
Wouldn't be the
board
members, no.
no.
No, it is different than a council situation, for
It's
sure.
a totally dysfunctional board, but that's not really related to this policy as we're saying. You know, frivolous kind of.
Well, if every single board meeting was arguments, because somebody was
So that's considered
Well,
frivolous, yeah.
falling, and like,
That becomes dysfunctional and nothing gets accomplished, and so then the board would have to be dissolved.
at the
By
decision of the board,
ministry.
right, or the ministry.
is it, but who makes that call? Is it the chair, or is it the CEO? Is it?
Well, what happened in Collingwood, we also had a situation at this library in our past history, and I remember the board chair had resigned. And that,
Pretty much everybody resigned, but gradually, they all got fed up with what was going on,
yeah, but
and then the
One by one.
council had to start appointing, well, they actually, 3 councillors came on the board, including the
The
mayor.
mayor himself at the time.
Yeah,
Wow.
Brian
Became
Solid.
the chair, and then that one. Yeah. Do you anybody remember that?
yeah, well, I remember, I wasn't involved, but I remember stories from outside.
When I joined the board, well, because they started to run out of people, and.
So, really, my question is like, who dissolved, they self-dissolved in a way because they just abandoned ship individually.
Yeah, and the council stepped in to try and keep some sort of governance structure going and deal with the crisis at the time.
So imagine if it becomes that dysfunctional, it becomes very apparent and somebody's gonna have to.
I think that's where the chip out of the gavel came from.
Yeah, but you're right, this is about a frivolous situation, not this kind of
That's right.
explosive
Yeah,
community problem.
yeah.
So I gather we want to keep something in here, I'm hearing that from a couple of you. So we want to say library board, so in this case, it is a member, a library board member.
Well, do we wanna change that? That's the thing, because we don't have anything going to the chair in this. So if
So
there,
individual members can consult with the chair.
yeah,
So we do want members, so that
I
that
think the
stays.
chair is the first step always. Cause you're the one that's leading the charge here.
Mhm.
and then hopefully it gets worked out and that's the end of that.
So
And
you're
then-
saying just add that to the chain, like that library board members will consult with the chair, comma, the CEO, comma, and the ministry.
No, I would say library board members would consult with the chair, period.
Period,
Yeah.
yeah.
And-
If the issue is in
Not
regards
consult.
to the chair,
Oh,
the library board member would consult with the CEO, because you're not gonna go to the chair. The CEO would then determine whether consultation with the Ministry of Tourism and Culture is necessary.
I don't think you can go to the CEO in that situation. Cause then you place her in a situation where she's trying to deal with a board level issue.
Yeah.
I think you need to go to other board members and call a special meeting.
That's in the bylaws, isn't it?
Is it? Okay.
I think it,
Or just
Yeah.
refer to bylaw subsection.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
might just be a whole lot cleaner.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to, I'm just,
yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
thank you.
cause I only had until about 4:15 today myself,
Right. I'm just gonna-
so,
you gotta lead to something. So we need to get to the in-camera session.
sorry.
Okay, I have some minor little typos.
Okay,
Under addressing the conduct of behavior,
yep,
number 2, managers will review the information provided by employees and determine in a timely manner whether. And then review of restrictions. You have the second sentence in number 1. Or the second line, appeal the decision by providing a written letter to the CEO outlining the reasons for appeal. Rather than outlined.
In the interest of time, I'd like to suggest that this policy, you have some wording corrections to make.
Mhm.
That comes back to the next meeting. I think we've seen respectful public interactions before. Did we not approve it last meeting?
no,
Okay, but we did see it before. I think we were all comfortable with it.
I have some questions.
But we don't have time to do those right now.
Yeah,
Do you wanna
I know, I
revisit this one?
was,
I think we should defer these to the next meeting.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, so no motion there. Okay, I want to do a quick motion to do with the governance policy. We remove the section regarding the e-vote because we know that you're no longer able to do that. So maybe move in seconder, Marie. Yeah, seconder, please. Chris? Any discussion? All in favor? That one is carried. Now. Can we skip through to, 'cause you have a hard stop at 4:15.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
So do we have any problem if we skip through at this point to close session and we can come back? For the 2 remaining verbal updates.
Yes, let me know. No opposition.
Okay, so apologies to those who are online who will have to come back another half hour, 20 minutes to hear the rest of the meeting. But the other 2 items are updates on the market study for pay equity, and the other one is a CEO service update. So now, may I have a motion to move into closed session in regard to Public Libraries Act and matters that relate to personal affairs, personal matters of a identifiable individual, that clause. Okay, Sean? And Carol? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll have to go offline.
I'm going to stop the recording. Or pause it.
Recording. And we can go back and pick up the policy discussion. Okay, so we had the frivolous one that we were, frivolous, vexatious, or unreasonable complaints. And we thought we might defer it, but that's mostly because of the wording around this section 5. And I'm wondering at this stage, do we have wording that we can do right now, or do you want to strike that section for now, pass the motion, and if we want to add that section later, we can? Does that make sense to people? Okay, so at this stage, we're going to strike that number 4. And I do think, frankly, it's covered by the bylaws anyway. So I'm striking that. I can just give this to you if you want.
Okay, that'll actually help me out.
Okay, and then, so can I have a motion? Let me just think. Can we go back now to the respectful public interactions policy? And Carol, I think you said you had some changes you would.
No, I'm okay.
There was just the word review, it was just typo, that's all.
Once I accept
Copy
a few changes, I'll run everything through.
Spell
Yeah,
check.
spell
Yes.
check, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else then for respective public interactions? No. In which case, can I have a motion to approve these 2 policies? I guess as amended. Carol, thank you. And Chris? Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. So as far as policies go, I guess we still have the question of some of the health and safety that we haven't reviewed. And I'm wondering if I guess there's 2 things. I know health and safety ended up in one big, in the website, which is where I was going for information, just one line and get the whole lengthy
Mhm.
policies. And the other policies are all separate. So it made it very hard to compare what you're looking for in health and safety with the other stuff. So it may be useful to get them all split out again and to double check to see if there's any other policies that we as a board need to review to complete the full health and safety policy discussion. And then perhaps we can do the balance of that at our June meeting. The outstanding policies.
I might have to send my regret. What do you mean?
Okay. I think at that point, we're on to our next verbal report, which is the market study and pay equity review. Is that fair?
Okay,
I'm just conscious of the time, and I need to go too, so.
I'll be quick. So essentially where we're at in the market study is all of the job descriptions have been updated. We're not anticipating any major structural changes. There weren't any major changes in terms of level of responsibility or requirements for education. Those have all been sent to the municipality. They're with the consultant. The consultant led a few sessions, public sessions for staff to attend. So we all attended those and had most of our questions answered. But there will be a report going to council in July, I believe is the timeline that they gave us. So I'm just gonna keep my eye out for when that happens. I did have a meeting with the CAO yesterday where I definitely voiced that I would have liked to have been more directly involved in sort of the higher level conversations. So I have a few questions that I didn't feel confident in my answer to staff that I'm going to go through with the manager of HR. And from there, hopefully that sort of piece of everything will be I don't wanna say resolved, it's not necessarily a problem, but the communication definitely could have been different. But at this point, again, I don't think there will be any major. When the decision is made by council, I don't think there will be a ton of, I don't anticipate financial impacts to the library.
So what stage is it at? Actually, have they done the review of all the job positions?
So at this point, council has selected their comparators. And so we didn't have input necessarily on comparators, I gave my feedback. And so, but my understanding is that the library positions are being evaluated against those comparators, library only positions, it's not library against town positions. But the pay equity, so they'll do the library against other libraries and then. The results of that will go, they'll do the pay equity piece comparing library to town positions.
So
Or
the
pay equity only.
comparators for the library, are they reasonable comparators? Were you satisfied with the choice?
Yeah, the only feedback I provided was, they could have included a municipality that had a GLAM structure, so I recommended that they include, Huron County, because I didn't feel that Clarington was a realistic comparator, just in terms of the type of community, the size of the community, where Huron County really was the only kind of comparator. But they also chose, much larger municipalities to compare against, I guess, just to ensure that the wages are competitive and to solve some of.
So they're not going to pull the library out?
Yes, they will, but basically, they only pull the library out of their grid for when our staff are looking at our wage grid. So a level 10 on the town's wage grid is a level 10 on the library's wage grid. It's just for communication purposes. Once the study's finished, they'll pull the library positions out.
So I'm mixed up, but I understood, Sabrina was concerned before she left because the library had been brought into the town and then she was asked, according to Sabrina, she was asked if we would come out again because it was causing some problems. So is this like a
Are we staying on the town grid?
yeah,
We are staying on the town grid.
Yes,
And when they do the comparators, when they say the municipalities being compared against other larger municipalities, are they taking the library positions, comparing them to those library positions?
Yeah,
in those
exactly.
towns?
yes,
So
yes.
they've
Oh.
chosen, I don't know,
Toronto,
yeah, okay, that's it, they chosen Clarington, because you mentioned that as an example, so then the library position would be compared to Clarington library positions.
yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
okay, so you don't feel the library's being disadvantaged?
No. I mean, once I see, it's so hard to say at this point. I'm interested to see what it looks like when it comes back. But am I confident in the comparators they chose? I think so. I was happy to see certain things, certain municipalities weren't on there. Because that would, in my opinion, have skewed the results. I guess the only concern I do have is that there are municipal positions that have a very similar level of responsibility and requirement in terms of education as a library position. I personally think they should be compared against one another, but that's not their process. And because the instruction for the study came from council, I don't really have any authority to say
Change that.
otherwise. I can give recommendations and they can incorporate my feedback, but it's tough because we really have no control over the study itself, but do I think it benefits the library to be a part of the municipal study? I do,
Okay.
yeah,
Using the same firm as we did last time? for the-
yes.
And there's still an opportunity for appeal if there's concerns?
Yeah,
Anything else on that topic? No. Cool. Empowerment Services, you have a report.
where are we here, sorry. Oh, the CEO report. So this month, I didn't include that statistics chart at all. I've been kind of experimenting with how to present information to the board. But what I tried to do based on the feedback from the last meeting was, what did I do here? I sort of bolded specific statistics that I thought were worth highlighting. Throughout the month of April, we held 73 programs with over 2,000 participants. We handed out over 200 solar eclipse glasses. There was a very positive feedback from the community on that initiative, and we are still to this day collecting glasses that'll be recycled and distributed to an organization that will then distribute them to underserved communities that didn't have the same.
Oh, that was pretty neat.
Our Real Film Festival, the first two events, we had over 80 people participate. And it's also a fundraiser to help us fund the future development of more local history films. I did send the board an email just to encourage, or at least inform the board that the final event is happening this Saturday at the South Simcoe Theatre in Collingwood. The documentary is the Blue Clay documentary that won a very prestigious award last year. The filmmaker will be there to do a Q&A at the end as well. But following that event, the next CEO report will definitely give an update on how much money we raised, how many people we reached in total, and just communicating the success of that initiative.
Yeah, I'm a little
I think
skeptical
that's
there, Yeah.
Okay, any questions?
Mm.
Any other business? Anything on roundtable? Key messages. I'm thinking it's fairly obvious that our key messages are around the action plan development, a lengthy policy review, that's it, eh?
Yeah.
If you could draft those for me and then I'll look them over.
Mhm.
And then if we get a motion to approve the release of the policies this month, please. Julia. Carol. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Notice of next meeting is June 20th here, meeting at 1 p.m. As I mentioned, the focus will be, one of the focus will be on the implementation and timing of the strat plan items, and we also have policy review, redux. And I guess Volt will be in session to look at Volt stuff.
Mhm.
And I think that's the statement, the other thing that we think we'll have by then. We would normally do approving audited statements if they're available.
I have been going back and forth with the auditors, so I imagine it'll be done by then.
Okay. I think I'll,
Motion to adjourn?
yeah, so I'll adjourn the meeting. Yes, okay. And is that 5:07? Thank you, that's a second.
Good meeting. We got that done.